Welcome in. It is Tuesday. Yes, I got the day right. Yesterday, if you were watching, I was trying to figure out what day it was. It's Tuesday. Thank you for joining us Tuesday afternoon here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is here in studio.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Meteorologist Becca Birdsall is also here. How are you doing, Becca?
I'm doing good.
Keeping warm. I mean,
It was so cold this morning. Dropped down to 14 degrees, and
Yeah.
it certainly felt like it. I stayed in
my
bed way too long this morning because I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, I overslept too.
I cranked my heat up the highest. I usually keep my heat pretty low, but I cranked it up last night.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry for your heating bill.
I'm like,
It's worth it though.
but it was worth it, but it was so cold outside. I felt like they were sort of kind of competing.
Like battling?
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't really feel a difference.
Right.
But I don't want to crank this thing up higher than it needs to be.
Yeah, and on my drive to work, I was like, oh, you could see some of those icy spots that still haven't melted.
Yeah,
We're talking
yeah.
the bridge over behind the station you get
Yes.
to. Like it's a little bit of a slope.
Yeah.
I slid down in a little bit.
Yeah. It's
You know,
I did not want to drive on that.
It was just like
Yeah.
it doesn't get any sunlight. It's just
No.
tree covered. So like
I was going
it
to
stays
turn there and I looked right and I said, nah.
Not
No.
today.
Good,
Nah.
good choice.
Nah.
Good choice.
So Becca, folks are freezing as well. I guess this stuff is sticking around. A little bit cold weather.
The chill is staying with us. There's not really much of a warm up in sight. We're going to be about 10 to 15 degrees below average for highs, followed by freezing mornings and hard freezes. We're talking
Yeah.
teens and 20s. So it is going to be feeling and looking like January, especially as we go in the last couple of days. Thankfully, got some sun. So that
beautiful.
always
You wouldn't know
makes
it by looking
feel-
at the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It always makes it feel just a little bit more bearable out there, especially if you do have any errands to run. But hard to find even one cloud in the sky out there. Bluebird day from the mountains into the metro. Now, it is freezing out there, especially over towards the mountains. 22 currently with a wind chill of about 10 degrees over towards Ashe County. It's still 29 degrees here in Charlotte. That's because it was so cold this morning. Temperatures temperatures are really struggling to warm up. Any sort of breeze is going to make it feel so much colder out there. So a wind chill of 20 at the moment here in the metro, feeling more like 21 over towards Lincoln and portions of Rock Hill as well. We've dropped down to about 14 degrees today. That was actually the coldest morning that we have seen since about 2024. So last year, our coldest morning temperature was 16 degrees, and we're starting off strong this month of January, dropping down to 14. If you're wondering, we are 53 days out till spring. Who's counting, right? We're waiting for Pisces season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of March birthdays here, including mine.
Y'all are March
Yes.
babies.
we
Y'all are March babies.
Yeah.
So spring is coming. We've just got a long month of January to get behind us. The weather impact this week, like I mentioned, it's going to be featuring well below average temperatures for this time of year. Our average high is normally in the lower to middle 50s. We're going to have highs in the 30s and 40s this week, followed by each and every day with freezing mornings. Today's going to be pretty nice. Kind of right where we were for yesterday afternoon in terms of the high. We'll do upper 30s to lower 40s with some sunshine. We'll also have a breeze that will make it feel just a little bit colder than the actual air temperature. Tonight, not going to be as cold as it was this morning. We'll be starting off mainly in the middle to upper 20s out there. But you can see each and every morning is going to be cold, sub freezing temperatures. We'll start off on your Thursday, 24, Friday, 24. By the time we get to Saturday and even Sunday, another big blast of incoming cold air. Over the next couple of days should be fairly nice. We'll start to get up at least into the 40s for a high temperature going into the end of the work week. So getting out of the 30s and into the 40s, still that's below average. We're, of course, looking ahead towards the weekend forecast. There have been some question marks on what exactly will be unfolding. There is going to be a chance yet for some more winter weather, especially in the form of snow. This looks like it's going to be the setup where you either get snow or you don't get snow. And we actually could see a better chance off the coast as we look at that nor'easter. But I do want to point out, this is now the third weekend in a row where it's looking like we're at least going to have the potential of winter weather. And we're exhausted. Yes, we are exhausted. But you know what? It's January, and this is just the way it goes, guys.
Yeah.
So here's what the winter storm is trending, the latest updates now. It is looking like we'll have temperatures that are going to be cold, supporting that snow profile below 32. It depends on how much moisture we actually get, depending on the track of the low. So right now, that's remaining steady, but it is looking like it's not going to be more of a winter mixed bag like we had this past weekend. It's looking more like you either get snow or you don't, not necessarily that mix of freezing rain and sleet, what we saw last weekend. So here's that nor'easter. Depending on where it tracks, if it tracks a little bit closer to the coast, we could see a greater impact, a little bit middle, something to track. And then if it heads a little bit further east, then we'll have nothing to track in terms of winter weather across the Carolinas. So here's just one model giving you an idea of how this is going to be spinning up as we go later in on the work week. This is likely going to bring us that first chance of winter weather Friday night going into your Saturday and Sunday. Here's that one model Saturday morning showing snow showers pretty much from the mountains all the way over towards the Carolina coast. We'll continue that threat as we go into later in the day on Saturday. But notice, I do think this will be a bigger coastal storm. While we could see some light snow accumulations from this, I do think this will be a much bigger snowmaker depending on the track for the Carolina coast, not necessarily for us. And then it pulls off to the north and east. We'll be watching for more flurry chances as we go in later into the weekend as well. In this Jerry Hunt Super Center 7-day forecast, we were weather impact alert this morning due to the cold temperatures, but no longer as we go later on this afternoon. Chilly sunshine, that's kind of going to be the name of the game going into the rest of the work week. Morning temperatures in the 20s, afternoon highs at least will start to warm up into the 40s as we go from Wednesday all the way through Friday. Now, no matter what, it gets very cold this weekend. We'll be looking at highs kind of similar to what we saw last weekend, 20s and 30s with, once again, morning temperatures down into the teens. A little bit of a question mark on the winter weather. I think we'll get a better idea of how the system folds once we get 48 to 72 hours from that system. So by the time we get later in the day, I think on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have a better idea of how the system will unfold and let you know if we need a weather impact alert. I will also say, do you see that on Monday?
Groundhog Day.
Yes, Groundhog Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Kind of forgot
I
that
know,
it
I
was.
did too.
Oh
yeah.
Kind of
man.
snuck up on us.
I did.
I mean, so I always confuse it. So if he sees his shadow,
Then spring's coming early.
Listen, I'm gonna need to look that up again.
I'm very
Yeah, I
certain it's
I gotta
because that
look
means
it
the
up.
sun's out, and that means spring's coming early. And then if it's not, then it's more winter.
I think
I think that's it.
I had a whole graphic of this. I don't know why my memory is just going blank right now.
Right?
Let's look
If
it
he
up.
sees-
so according to the Old Farmer's Almanac, a
Okay,
groundhog
all right.
will emerge from its burrow on Groundhog Day. If it sees its shadow, it will retreat back into its hole, and we can expect another 6 weeks of winter.
Okay.
So if it sees a shadow,
If it doesn't,
If-
then it means
spring.
spring coming early.
I believe
okay, so
I got that right.
opposite.
I believe I
Okay.
got that right. I believe I got that right. Either way, we just want spring to be
We
here.
want spring.
Just want
Yeah.
spring.
How can we
How
slip
can we get this going faster?
something
Can
under
I
the
talk to
table for
groundhog?
Phil?
Let me
Like,
tell-
like, yo, Punxsutawney, can we?
I was about to
can we
say,
do
let me-
that?
It's been a long winter.
Let me talk to Punxsutawney.
Let me say, like,
I got it.
you got
I
a
got
cell
it.
phone number?
I think I got it.
I got some nuts in my
Let me
bag.
go through the P's in my
Yeah.
phone. I think in the contacts I got Punxsutawney or Phil or somebody. Let me talk to one of those two. They may.
Yeah.
Becca Bursaw, thank you for the forecast. Thank you for stopping in. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. A lot of folks are still seeing some remnants of this weekend's ice storm on the ground. A lot of stuff is melted away, but again, we're still seeing some remnants. But over to our west in Tennessee, man, they got slammed over the weekend. Nashville, honestly, a big chunk of Tennessee. If not,
Chris mentioned this morning, like, I want to say it was like he said 25% or something of like Nashville
Yeah.
or that area is still out of power.
Still out of power. Yeah, I mean, they're just dealing with it right now. So, happening right now, this is happening virtually. We're hearing from officials in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell holding a weather presser. Let's take a listen into the updates they're giving right now.
Dedicated to this, we understand the need in the community, and the men and women are dedicated to getting this done, and we appreciate those who have appreciated our workforce. Finally, just want to be clear about our commitment. We're going to continue to scale resources as needed until we start to bend that curve. So we will scale and make sure we're hitting that acceleration mark as quickly as possible.
We really appreciate that. We know this is a big undertaking, and we know that you have a plan and you have it in place and you activate it. And it also takes efforts of your crews and contracted individuals that you have in, and also our local infrastructure that's working alongside of you. We have Metro Water, Scott Potter here today, and he's going to give us some information that'll be very helpful for us to be able to look forward to the coming days. Scott?
Thank you, Chief Swan. On a normal day in this time of year, Metro Water Services will make about 95 million gallons of water. Today, our flow rate is about 130 million gallons of water, and that's good news and bad news in that the good news is that people are being diligent about letting their faucets drip, and I'll talk about that a little bit more further in my briefing. The bad news is we're going to start seeing more main break activity as the ground begins to thaw. So along those lines, if people see a main break or water running in the street, please call 615-862-4600, because as we thaw, we will see more main break activity. We have numerous crews ready to go, contractors ready to go to respond to those breaks, but I'll ask everyone's patience to assist us in getting those repairs made. Speaking of letting your faucets drip, one of the things that we try to stress is when it's cold, especially for an extended period of time, and especially overnight, we encourage people to let their faucets run. A pencil-lead thin stream is suitable. Sometimes we get feedback that people feel like it's going to be very expensive to let your faucets run like that, but I want to kind of give some numbers to support why that's a good idea. So 100 gallons of water at Metro Water Services, including your sewer fees and applicable taxes, costs $1.70. And if you let your faucet run for 24 hours, the worst case scenario is it'll drip about 40 gallons per day. So if you do that math, you can have 3 faucets run a day for 24 hours, protecting your home plumbing, and it'll cost you $1.70. So I think it's pretty important that we all do that, especially at night and especially when we have prolonged cold. Operationally, we're in really good shape. Our water plants have been on our emergency diesel power system. We're going to be able to transition, we think, back to the grid soon. Our water pump stations and sewer pump stations mostly have power, and whenever we have an interruption, NES has been very helpful in getting us restored. Currently, we've got 3 areas that we are looking at closely for leaks: the Oak Hill area, the Jolton area, and the Love Circle area. So any viewers that live in those areas, if you see main break activity, please call 615-862-4600. That's my report, Chief.
Thank you so much. The big difference of $1.75 versus hundreds of dollars of damage to pipes. So I think that's great advice. So now let's look at NDOT, because again, they're out here, and I know the hard work Philip and you and your team are doing to clear the streets. How are we looking today?
Well, I'm going to start off with, I want to make sure that I do show and share the appreciation for our employees that because this event started for us about 4 days prior to the snowfall when we started with our pre-treatment. But these men and women have really came in and showed some dedication. They've been on 12-hour shifts since Saturday morning, but we really appreciate that. But we're working very closely with NES and TDOT. We appreciate those partnerships. Our primary routes are in good shape right now. Our secondaries, where we can get to them, we've got impassable. They're in good shape. But there's a lot of the secondaries and the post-secondaries that we continue to work with NES on, getting power lines and trees removed where we can access and finish the removal of the snow and ice, which today should be a good day due to the temperatures and the sun. We had a very successful day yesterday, so I expect that to continue. I would also like to share that we've got out about 15 different crews doing vegetation removal today. And as we start pulling off of the snow removal, those forces will then continue to go in vegetation, along with we've got some additional contractors coming in the morning that will help us. We're also kind of scheduling out, looking out ahead for the recovery of this. And I want to make sure everybody knows and understands, as you're clearing vegetation, trees, and woods from your property, you know, here in the county, if you bring it to the right of way, I want you to be mindful that we don't want to dam up or take up our ditches and reservoirs for our stormwater. So we want to be mindful of where we put that vegetation, but we're preparing to come in immediately after this and do a county-wide sweep of all the vegetation throughout the county. So there will be more details to follow, but just know, get that vegetation out to the right of way, and we'll get that material picked up. We're looking at probably over the next couple weeks before the vegetation gets cut and put out, but everybody will have to kind of bear with us on the material that we cut now. It may be left in the right of way until we can get out and get it removed, but we have a plan in place. You'll be seeing a lot of our trucks out tomorrow. We're going to start doing an assessment tomorrow and doing an inventory of any infrastructure damage in the right of way. So I just want to share that with everybody.
Philip, you also mentioned earlier about the plan that you had, and you're going to stick to that plan, your primary secondaries and your post-secondaries. Is that still the plan of action?
Yeah. I make sure that Nashville has a plan, and it works. It works perfect even in this scenario. We try to plan for worst case scenario, but our objective is always primary routes come first. That's our main objective, to keep those open. And that's for emergency services. It gets you to your hospitals, gets you to the interstates. It's for emergency services. Our secondary routes come right after that. That's all your connectors to tie to the arterials. And then after that, we've developed a post-secondary set of routes that we maintain. Typically in this area, 3 or 4 day event, you know, you're able to get to those. In this situation, because it's been so extreme with these temperatures, that we've had to go back over and over the primaries to keep those clear, to keep emergency services open. But I just want to keep in mind the things we get thawed out today, we go back into freezing temps tonight. So there will be some reasonable freezing over on some of those side streets tonight.
Okay, excellent. So Chief Drake, I know when we look at public safety, both fire, police, OEM, and all of public service, all of us in here are public service servants, and it comes with a cost. Sacrifice. If it doesn't come with a cost, it's not a sacrifice. And I know this is difficult. All the men and women that there are in these departments, they have issues and problems too, expected of them. So we do want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone in this situation and all the hard work that's going on. We met earlier, Chief Drake. We talked a little bit about your department, my department. Would you like to do a quick review of where we're at as far as stance?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say thanks to the Nashville community for doing it the Nashville way, by inviting people into their homes that know they don't have power. I've seen entire families checking in the hotels, going to shelters to keep warm. Thank you for all you do. Thank you to the men and women of the police department, of the fire department, and all of our colleagues right here for the collaboration that they're making to keep Nashville safe. The police department has been tremendous in making that sacrifice as well. We have 120 detectives that are in uniform that are helping respond to calls. At one point, we were over 400 calls pending. As of about an hour ago, we had 11 police-related calls that were pending. Those detectives are out in uniform answering calls and helping our patrol division. I do have to report there are 2 potential storm-related deaths that we heard from the medical examiner's office. I have to say the cause of death is unknown, so we can't say that it's directly related to this storm or not. There was one woman in a assisted living facility who was 90 years old, who didn't have power, that had fallen inside the apartment. So it was still waiting on a medical examiner to give cause of death. And then at Lindale and Wedgwood Avenues, a woman had slid down a hill, was found by a passerby. A police department responded to that. She was declared dead at the scene. Again, we do not know the cause of death as it relates to this. We'll get more from the medical examiner's office. We'll say with our task force, we've transported about 180 folks to shelter in partnership with the fire department. We'll have an additional 40 officers working in overtime capacity to assist residents of Nashville to go to warming shelters, warming stations, or back to the residences once power is restored. Again, if power is restored at your home and you need a ride, we will give you that ride. Please continue to use caution. The roads are still icy, they're still slippery, and if you don't have to be out, please take advantage of that and don't be out on the roads. Again, when you come upon a traffic light and the signal is out, treat that as a four-way stop and be courteous. We're seeing a lot of that happening, so thank you for doing that. And also, as you see power lines down, treat every power line as a live wire. Do not touch it and stay away from it. And be careful standing under this ice. As our temperatures go to 32 degrees, you'll see large amounts of ice drop from power lines and from trees, etc. These could potentially be dangerous. So just be careful as you walk under a lot of these things. Also, the temperature is going back down to 6 degrees tonight with wind chill in the minus factor. So if you don't have to be out in it, please stay in. And thank you for your time.
Yes. Well, before I turn it back to the mayor, I just want to mention, Mayor knows this, we did do a review with the critical infrastructure this morning. We made assessments to see where we at as a city and what needs we do have. At this point in time, we do feel as if we're managing and controlling all the circumstances that we're encountering. We are working closely together with each other, and also we're staying closely connected with our team of partners as well. So, Mayor, that's our report this morning. I'll turn it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Director Chief Swan. And as I mentioned, and what you just heard from Director Chief Swan is correct. There are a lot of moving parts to this response. We want to do this in a way that is consistent and accurate and authoritative so that we can work with our TEMA and FEMA partners, that once we're through this, we can actually continue to get assistance for the recovery effort. So in addition to this briefing, we're providing information on nashville.gov with updates multiple times a day, every day, as well as departments represented here have active social media presence. And then I know we have been sending out means alerts, the Metro Emergency Activation Notice system that lets Nashvillians know about key important resources. So please do pay attention to all those. We have the public awareness system, sent a text last night and the night before with information on warming centers and transportation assistance. As you've heard, primary routes and secondary routes are improving. NDOT is making a lot of progress on clearing down trees. I know that a lot of people have been stuck at home for days, itching to get out. Schools are out. I get it. Our family is in the same condition. My ask to Nashvillians today is this: if you don't have to be out of your home, please save space on our roadways for the people who need it most. That is our emergency responders, power crews, medical professionals, people seeking medical assistance, people trying to get to warming locations, hotels, or other sources of refuge. So this, you know, if an errand can wait, now is the time to try to reschedule that. Now, we know Nashvillians are the first to show up and support their neighbors. I want to, like Chief Drake mentioned, want to thank so many people who have been coming together to check on neighbors, just offer wellness checks, assistance, extra bedrooms, those kinds of things, and continue to report and interact with us as a local government, reaching out to Hub Nashville to share challenging areas in your neighborhoods, And we have seen so much support for our Metro workforce as these teams have been out there in the community. So I can tell you, as we've seen people waving to NES crews, waving to the NDOT snow plows as they've seen them, thank you for those little moments of encouragement. In the coming days, I know many people are going to be asking how they can volunteer to help. We are in contact with Hands on Nashville through the United Way of Middle Tennessee, and we'll be working with them to get information out into the community about volunteer opportunities. We are trying to be very, very careful about that to make sure that we can give everybody safe and consistent guidance on our roadways. With that, we'll turn things over to Jimmy to facilitate questions.
Thank you, Mayor. As we stated earlier, if you put a question in the chat, we will review each question in order received. Our first question is from Karen Aguilar with Fox 17. Karen, I will unmute you.
Hi there. I know linemen have been working really hard, so this is not challenging linemen.
Hang on,
just
Karen,
the way
we're
kind
having
of
audio issues. I hear you very faintly in the background, but we're not on speaker yet.
Okay.
Give us just a second.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I know linemen have been working very hard in challenging conditions, straighted at what they believe. Can you hear me?
Mostly. You cut out a couple times. You started with, I know linemen have been working very hard.
I have to close this. Can you close this window? I apologize. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I know linemen have been working hard with the challenges of these weather conditions, but people have been frustrated. You know, it's 4 days without power. And I mean, you're saying, NES is saying more than 700 linemen are going to be working. But, you know, previously it was 300. You mentioned scale. I was just wondering how NES prepared to handle these kind of outages, despite reports that this historic ice storm was coming.
Yeah, I think let's be clear about what this is. It is a historic ice storm. And so this is the largest single outage in NES history. We do not have these kinds of weather events all the time. And so with roadway damage and all the outages that we've seen and the weather conditions allowing for access at all, I think we start there. And Brent, I'll let you talk about kind of the overall preparedness scenario.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for the question. And as we led into the storm, we were preparing for this just like we do for every forecasted storm that is coming through. In this one, we were also partnering with utilities across the region. All of us were getting our crews lined up the week in advance. Once with the storm hit, we then all partnered together to get the resources where they are needed most. The storm a day ahead of time was looking like Memphis was going to be the epicenter of the biggest damage. As the night moved into Saturday night, it started to shift. So we were already in communication with those Western Tennessee utilities to make sure we could get those responses quickly. We were all prepared across the region, our mutual aid contracts in order, our contractors ready to respond, which is how we've been able to scale.
And that, I think, worth considering too, the impact is not just in Nashville, Middle Tennessee, statewide across Tennessee. It ranged from New Orleans to New York in terms of impact. And so to Brent's point, this has been hour by hour weather tracking, impact analysis, and then looking at when capacity can be shifted as different communities are able to free up resources or need additional resources. And as Nashville got through Sunday into Monday and then today, we have been increasing that capacity day by day.
Thank you, Karen. Our next question is from Steve Mailing with WSMV Force.
Hi, all. Just wanted to jump in and, say how appreciative we are for your efforts. I know you guys are working overnight into the 24/7 hours, so we appreciate it. My question is in regards to nursing homes and assisted living facilities. I have gotten, we've gotten calls from dozens of concerned families about nursing homes that are operating one generator, and they're having to gather all these residents into, this single common area to sleep in chairs at night just to stay warm. I wanted to see where nursing homes, assisted living facilities are in terms of priority for being restored for power. and as far as, critical infrastructure goes? And then also, if these residents do need to be evacuated, is there a procedure in place to be able to help nursing homes kind of facilitate that?
I think I'll invite Brent to talk about the power side, and Director Chief Swan, if you want to address those scenarios for how we think about critical care sites and relocations. Brent?
If you don't mind, Brent, I would have just hit this first with, of course, the first thing, the question that you asked about restoring the power, of course, is the primary objective here. And for us, we would, the ideal situation is to keep them in place, because a lot of times in nursing facilities or these critical facilities that you're talking about, there's special needs. So we would try to keep them in place and restore the power, which would be the more ideal way of doing it. But then if the case occurred where we did need to evacuate and move them, then yes, we would move forward with that as a plan. But again, I will pass it on to NES. I know that's one of the questions that we talked about this morning, and y'all prioritizing this as a critical target for you guys to try to get restoring of power.
That's correct. Yeah, and just as we start the storm, the critical infrastructure that we usually are working on are hospitals, water systems, and those things that have to be for the entire community made sure they stay up and running. Critical care facilities like a nursing home and other medical facilities that aren't hospitals are the next on the list, as well as those customers with critical care needs. The challenges we've had, and some of it is getting to those locations, and we've been thankful for NDOT to be with us, clearing those roads so that we can get back to those. That is something as we continue.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Again, you are hearing from officials in Nashville, Tennessee. They got absolutely slammed by this winter storm from over the weekend. You see it right there, about 135,000 customers still without power there. Downed trees, limbs, creating extremely dangerous conditions out there. And also 2 storm-related deaths in Davidson County, Tennessee. Again, that is what they're dealing with and what they're up against there in Nashville. Let's come back here at home and let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So later today, this afternoon, President Donald Trump will be in Iowa to once again Talk about affordability here in the United States. He's set to deliver that speech in Des Moines, Iowa, regarding the economy. And so before he left the White House, he spoke with reporters, answering questions for several minutes. We want to take you there. In case you missed it, this happened just moments ago.
Conversation with the highly respected president of Syria and all of the things having to do with Syria and that area working out very, very well. So we're very happy about it. Tom Homan, as you know, is in Minnesota now. He's meeting with the governor and he's meeting with the mayor, I think, later. And I hear that's all going very well also. I'm going to Iowa. Some of you are coming with me, but I'm going to Iowa. And what can I say? The economy is good. It's all good. Prices are coming way down. And we have a lot of very positive news.
Mr. President, do you believe that Alex Cuddy's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Is Christine Noem going to step down?
No.
Mr. President,
the president of Syria, the president of Venezuela said that he has taking orders from you. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I haven't heard that at all. No, we have a very good relationship.
What about
I'd like to see interest rates go down. Everything else is going down. We have the energy and fuel going down. We have gasoline in many states now at $1.99. Groceries are going down. We inherited a mess with very, very high prices, very, very high prices. And I will tell you, we've made a lot of progress. So we have the groceries going down. We have the energy going down. We have gasoline going down at a record clip. And that's what I want to do. We're doing well. Well, I'm looking at that whole situation. I love everybody. I love all of our people. I love his family. And it's a very sad situation. Yeah, please. I have, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs and everything else. And that border is absolutely closed.
Mr. President.
So well, prices are coming down. The border is really strong. You know, if you remember, I probably got elected more than anything else on the border. We had a border that was open with 25 million people coming through with an open border policy, which was insane. And that's the policy that caused the problems that we have. With all of that being said, other than, I would say, just to put it accurately, Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, because it's not all of Minnesota, every city that we've gone to has been, like, literally crime has gone down 50, 60, 70, 80. In Washington, it's gone down. There's practically no crime. You know, Washington is a great example, but you take a look at other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, the crime is down 78%. And you know where else it's down? It's down in Minnesota. It's down in Minneapolis. and it's down very much because of the fact that we're there. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we have to take murderers and drug lords and people from mental institutions that were dumped into our country through open borders of the Democrats, of Biden. And we're doing a great job. The other thing is Tom Homan is there right now. He's with the governor and he's with the mayor. And I hear things are going very nice.
How close are we to the deal of the talks in Abu Dhabi that Charlotte used to receive mutual help? If your meeting with President Budapest back in play.
We're looking at some very good things happening on Ukraine and Russia.
Mr. President,
very good things are happening on Ukraine and
on the border with Gaza, Mr. President, where do we stand on Gaza, Mr. President?
Gaza is going very well. As you know, we got the last hostage on the body of the hostage. And a lot of people thought that was impossible. So we got all of the hostages back, both living and dead. And I can tell you, you have parents that really appreciate it.
What about the
Said, you know, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's just a very unfortunate
All right, so that is President Donald Trump before boarding Air Force One, headed to Iowa to talk about the economy, answering questions from reporters. That was from moments ago outside of the White House. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to head now to Ashburn, Virginia, where happening right now, we are hearing from investigators during a hearing. Go through some of those early stages of the investigation. Also go through what happened during that midair collision almost a year ago at DCA, Ronald Reagan Airport, in Washington, D.C. Let's take a listen into what's happening right now.
You have to continually put that in front of them. And that's how PTC, that's how PRD, the Kogan families became huge advocates, and that's how they were successful in getting that done. So it's a good message to know that we don't give up, but no one else can give up either. So I just want to mention that. Let me go back to see and avoid. Are pilots trained differently to see and avoid versus a helicopter pilot versus a fixed wing pilot?
Not particularly.
Is it not just basic knowledge that you don't hit something? Sorry.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that the core fundamentals? Don't hit something else?
Again, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Again, this is the NTSB DCA crash hearing that's taking place. I misspoke. I said Ashburn, Virginia. This is actually happening in Washington, D.C. Let's continue to listen in.
Dad, I mean, in order to avoid something, you have to first see it and see and avoid. And I think we identified some challenges in this case for that.
I just wonder why we're continuing to let, and I don't disagree that the technology can help avoid part of that, but I go back to we train people to see and avoid or request visual separation. It seems like it's just meant for the sake of expediency rather than it is actual safety. Is that a good assumption?
I think staff determined in this case that there was an over-reliance on it in order to ensure the efficient flow of traffic in the terminal area.
So it's more about getting the planes efficiently where they need to be.
We believe there was a drift in operating practices due to that pressure, yeah.
I think, shouldn't it be getting them there live versus efficiently?
Yes.
So it's a little rhetorical, I know, sorry. In regard to night vision goggles, is there ever a time whenever a helicopter crew would advise the air traffic control, or they would let them know that we're in a training, either in a training flight, a proficiency flight, or using night vision goggles?
Right now, there's no requirement to do that.
But we've identified increased risk, obviously, when helicopters are using night vision goggles and operating in a complex airspace.
There's advantages and disadvantages in using night vision goggles, and all the helicopter operators in the National Capital Region use them because they think it's advantageous.
But it doesn't, they view it's advantageous because they're able to better discern oncoming traffic, or because we've seen from our visualization, it significantly reduces your field of view.
Right, for helicopter operations, you're flying at low altitude, so you're not just looking for other traffic, you're looking for ground obstacles and other aircraft that are lower to the ground, other helicopters. So the night vision goggles are a big advantage in that environment.
Dr. Brandel, did you have something you want to add?
I was just going to say, yeah, operating without them would likely increase the risk for helicopter crews, but we have made other recommendations that would reduce the risk of collision in the area, such as relocating their route so they don't have to spot oncoming airliners and increasing the use of collision avoidance technology.
Okay. I see I'm out of time.
Thank you. Rocky, does American Airlines have ADS-B on 302 of their A321 aircraft?
Yes, they do.
That was cockpit display.
And it has a cockpit display in the pilot's primary field of view, yes.
Yes, I flew jump seat and was able to watch it in operation. Tim, you're a pilot. Do you have ADS-B in?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you have a receiver that you bought, it was a Garmin, probably a couple $100, right?
I think about 400, but yes.
And what does it provide you?
So the interesting thing, I'm not flying a 121 airline.
That's right.
But for me, I do fly a 1931 biplane. Okay, so this airplane has no electrical system whatsoever. I have to turn the propeller by hand to start it. But for $400, I bought an ADS-BN unit that Velcros to my panel, and using my phone in my ear, if I get traffic, I can hear the direction of that traffic, how far it is away from me, a clock position, and its altitude.
Great. Olivia, can you pull up the PowerPoint slide that I had sent to you all on the 48 seconds? All right, so what we're looking at here on your right is had Pat 25, they had a 4-flight. Do you have 4-flight, Mr. LeBaron?
Yes, I do.
So you have 4-flight with ADS-BN?
Yes.
And so this, had they gotten that alert, and had it been integrated in the helicopter, would have had 48 seconds before collision to do something. We know for a fact, or we know from our analysis, that they didn't realize that plane was there on the left. There was nothing. On the left here, we have flight 5342, and we did a simulation. They're barely even, I mean, they're just circling now from the Wilson Bridge. 59 seconds before collision with ADS-B, and they would have gotten an alert instead of 19 seconds, correct? Anyone?
Yes. That is correct.
That is correct. So would you rather have 19 seconds or 59 seconds?
Well, I'm not sure who the question's to, but I'd rather have the 59 seconds.
That's correct. That's right. I mean, look how far out they are. That is our simulation. So let me tell you, with respect to ADS-B, the NTSB has recommended ADS-B out and in, supported airborne traffic advisory systems that include oral and visual alerting functions 17 times since 2006 on Part 121, Part 135, and general aviation aircraft. In 2008, the board took a position in response to an FAA notice of proposed rulemaking which required ADS-B out. That the NTSB expressed concern that the FAA did not plan to require ADS-B in capability. We stated the safety board believes that the benefits of ADS-B technology warrant rapid adoption. We stated our concerns. In that letter, we said to FAA at the time said they had not identified as a requirement for maintaining safety and efficiency of NAS operations. We told that we disagreed, said their assessment was incorrect, and that equipage of aircraft with ADS-B in capability will provide an immediate and substantial contribution to safety, especially during operations in and around airports. We went on to say ADS-B in provides a ready method of sending warning information to pilots, providing confirmation of clearances, on and on. It is a backup, because why? Humans make errors. We know this. Why do you have technology? I mean, Member Inman talked about, you know, they implemented positive train control. Guess who wrote it in legislation? That'd be me. Why? Because of your work. Over and over and over again. And so we went on to continue recommending ADS-B in. I wonder where we would be today if they actually did it when ADS-B out was required. Where would we be today? Perhaps we wouldn't even be here. 59 seconds. 48 seconds. We might not have to be here. So my time is up, but I'm going to come back to this. Member Graham. Member Inman. Okay, just along those lines, I do want to stress, when we're thinking about where we are today, I want to read the last two responses from FAA, and it predates this administration. Honestly, thank you to Secretary Duffy, who has been a partner from day one on this. You know, when your first day on the job is a devastating tragedy, that stays with you for the rest of your tenure, if not your life. And what did he do? He committed to ADSBN. And the last administration, June 26, 2023, a response from then acting administrator of the FAA, Polly Trottenberg, was the FAA's this is to us, the FAA's Air Traffic Organization and Aviation Safety Organization met to discuss this recommendation and review all guidance and requirements associated at the time in response to Ketchikan. Parts 91 and Part 135 and ADSB out and in, we determined that our current ADSB requirements adequately address the needs of aviation safety and will not pursue any additional ADSB requirements at this time. And then we had another one, the last from them was November 6, 2024, Mike Whitaker, response to us saying, based on our discussions, it has been determined that our current ADSB requirements continue to adequately address the needs of aviation safety. The FAA will not pursue additional ADSB operator requirements at this time. In other words, they were okay without and not in. For those that are watching, that's like having a conversation with a wall. In order to communicate two entities, out, you got to receive in. You got to take that information in. Now, in this case, you know, and I might be at 5 minutes. Do you want to know? In this case, I want to ask one thing about TSB. If this aircraft had ADSB in, and we know that the Army's helicopter had ADSB out, it would have been on, but it was programmed incorrectly on installation, so it was basically not transmitting out. But even if, and I've seen comments, it wouldn't have mattered, I've seen this in the press, it wouldn't have mattered if it had ADSB in, because that aircraft, that helicopter, ADSB out wasn't working. Do you agree with that? Am I going to ask Mr. McKinney or am I going to ask Mr. Chihoun?
So the helicopter was not transmitting ADSB out, but with the TSB service, that would provide the helicopter's position to ADSB in displays.
So in other words, even though the helicopter wasn't transmitting out, if that aircraft had ADSB in, it would have gotten information. Is TSB everywhere in the airspace?
No.
No, it's not, which is why we still need, I see the Army in the audience, this does not mean you don't get a pass on ADSB out. The TSB isn't everywhere. You have to have ADSB out and in. Okay. Anything further? Okay, we're going to take a 15-minute break, lunch break. Apparently, I don't know what time it is, and 1 hour. We'll be back at 2:30. Thank you so much.
All right, let's come back here at home and let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We're going to get to a bit of breaking news in Houston, Texas. This is from our content partners in Houston, Texas. Take a look at this video. Wow, amazing video right here from Ellington Airport, from KHOU 11 NASA. This is a headline. NASA plane makes belly landing at Ellington Airport. You see that video there of that plane making that landing there. Smoke. You see sparks, see flames coming up as that plane is making that landing. So here is what happened, according to our content partner in Houston. We are working to learn more about a NASA aircraft incident at Ellington Airport late this morning. Views from Air 11 show an aircraft down on the runway. Video sent to KHOU 11 News shows a plane and making a belly landing on the runway at Ellington Field. Ground video shows the pilot climbing out of the cockpit with assistance from emergency responders. Now, according to a statement from the airport, the incident happened around 11:30 a.m. their time when a NASA aircraft had an issue while landing on the runway there. That runway is 17R 35L at Ellington Airport. Again, just reading what KHOU 11 has on their website again, what we know so far, video shows the aircraft landing with its landing gear not fully deployed, sliding along the runway before coming to a stop. Air 11 video shows emergency crews responding to the scene. So again, this is viewer video that KHOU 11, our content partners there, got from the scene. This is a live look as emergency crews work there and responding to that scene. Again, what we know now, and according to our content partners there at KHOU in Houston, Texas, a NASA plane making a belly landing at Ellington Airport. Again, we got viewer video there on your bottom right corner. So on their website, and this is interesting, what happens next. So Houston's airport says all questions are being directed to NASA. And so we're still working to get more information. And as soon as that information comes in, we will bring it to you here on Live Impact News, and we'll continue to track this as we get additional details. Let's come back out now. Again, we have that video right there at the bottom. We'll continue to track that at Houston's airport. As soon as we get more information, we'll bring it to you here on Live Impact News. Let's get a check on the forecast. So we had an ice storm come through the area over the weekend, hitting a good part of the country, including here in the Carolinas. We saw ice, we saw sleet. We avoided some historic damage, power outages, but we could be in for some snow. And again, looks like a nor'easter. Again, this is very early hitting the coast. Again, we're still days out. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich about those chances and what we could get this weekend.
Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We got to talk about a weekend winter weather threat, a much different system than this past ice storm, sleet storm, whatever you want to call this past weekend, which was much more of a mess, less snow, more ice. This is going to be primarily our typical winter event where we have a coastal low and the potential for good old-fashioned snow. It's either going to be snow or nothing at all. There's no dreaded mix or rain or sleet or ice. It's going to be snow or nothing at all. Right now, the current outlook is for about a 10 to 30% chance of at least 2-3 inches of snow in the light green and 30 to 50% for eastern North Carolina. But I want you to notice that the trend is here this direction. Now, there is a chance this shifts back west a little bit with time because we're still Tuesday, but I'll kind of show you the potential impacts. The one thing we know for sure, potentially plenty of cold air, and it's deep cold air. It's not the shallow cold air. If you were outside today, cold this morning, and 2, maybe 6 years, depending on where you are, I got down to 10.8, which is the second coldest temperature I've ever had at this current home. which I've been in since 2018. So kind of tells you how cold it's been. It really was the coldest for me since December 2022 when we had that 9-degree low. I had 10.3, I think, that morning. But plenty of cold air that's locked in all week. So we've got a couple tracks. We've got the nothing track, which is kind of out to sea. We're kind of in this something track right now. And again, this is for the Charlotte area. Western Carolina is the coast. Either one of these tracks would bring significant impacts. And even the nothing track could brush you with snow flurries. So I'm primarily talking about west of I-95 here. So the something track and the winter impacts track, definitely trending there. So let's look at the model data. I'm waiting for the new stuff to come in. It's really slow this morning, but what you can see is this eastern trough and then this low bombs out here off the southeast. This is a real strong signal of a low pressure system, your nor'easter think. So this is going to be a pretty significant low pressure system. And honestly, if it blows up a little bit, it could be a big storm for somebody on the East Coast. It's got all that potential. I showed you the probabilities. We can look at the chances of at least moderate impacts from snow, and you can see this highlighted area in red. Again, I'll scroll up just to show you the red. Is about 60% plus. The yellow is about 40% plus, and that's for moderate impacts. If I go to minor impacts, you could see we're going to see probably a bigger area of red, which is 60, 70, 80%. Now, the reason this could have higher impacts for lighter snow amounts, it's super cold air. This is going to be fluffy snow. The ground is cold. Whatever falls would likely stick pretty easily. Now, if we look at the probabilities of getting 1 inch of snow, I think this tells you a lot right here. We'll go through Monday morning. And if you look closely, you can see these areas in yellow right here. This is the 50% contour. So that's a 50% chance of getting 1 inch of snow. Charlotte is currently in the 40% chance. So it's definitely something. I always look for the 50% and above, especially this far out, to kind of give you a good gauge. But you can see some areas in eastern North Carolina, it's closer to 60 or 70% for some of these. I mean, this is an impressive storm. This is the vorticity. And for weather geeks out there, you know what I'm looking at. You can see this this big disturbance. This is coming in the northern branch of the jet stream. It's so strong, it dives down here. It causes low pressure to form on the coast. And this is true Arctic air. Watch this thing come down and you'll see it kind of shift to the coast and boom. And even takes on a little bit of that negative tilt, which is a tilt of the storm like this. That's negative. This is positive. That's neutral. That's positive. When you see a negative tilt, that throws tons of moisture back into this really cold air. This 540 line, that's the rain snow line typically, where you have all snow. You get a couple thicknesses down, you can still get snow, but that puts us solidly in snow. So that's why I said the confidence in this being all snow is super high, regardless of what falls. So that is what we're watching right now. We'll go back to the track. This is what we'll be watching for the next 24 hours. For the first time, I'm bringing out the snow meter this weekend because this is not an ice event. I didn't really bring it out for the last one because it wasn't going to be much snow. But right now, as of Tuesday, it is January 27th. We're going to keep it at a 3 because it's a legit chance of snow. I don't know how much. Could be nothing, could be flurries, could be much more, but we're definitely going to see snow flurry chances. The chance is there. So stay tuned. The timing, by the way, probably earliest Friday night, but primarily Saturday into Sunday. Of course, it's Tuesday. We'll have updates as we get closer. Third weekend in a row, at least the threat of wintry weather. 3 weeks ago, it was a no big deal. We told you flurries, rain. Past weekend, ice event, the worst kind. This weekend, more of your typical legitimate snowstorm chance. But the story should be the coast, eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Those are the areas that probably get the traditional nor'easter setup. So it's very, very interesting to watch going into the weekend.
All right, so that is a check on the forecast and weather outlook with Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. We want to go now to some more breaking news that we're following in southern Arizona. Take a look at the scene. This is a live look at the scene. This is in the Tucson area there. So here's what we have. According to the NBC affiliate there in Tucson, Arizona, 1 in critical condition after Border Patrol officer involved shooting in that area. So let me read what they have on the website. Again, this is news for Tucson, NBC affiliate there in Tucson, Arizona. A shooting incident occurred this morning near milepost 15, according to the Santa Rita Fire District. Now, emergency responders for the Santa Rita Fire District and American Medical Response arrived at the scene around 7:30 a.m. today. Officials confirmed the shooting involved a Border Patrol officer. They found one individual in custody and in critical condition. Immediate medical care was provided before the patient was transferred to a local medical helicopter for rapid transport to a regional trauma center. Now, Border Patrol officers are on the scene. The county sheriff's department and the FBI are also assisting in this investigation. No additional details at this time. So again, that is according to News 4 Tucson. That is the NBC affiliate there in Tucson, Arizona. Again, one person in critical condition after a Border Patrol officer involved shooting. Limited details, but as soon as we get more, again, we'll make sure to update you here. But again, this is a look at that area, look at the scene. Well, we saw folks there. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening, honestly, as Carlene just mentioned. I'm just pausing for a minute, taking a beat for a minute, just to see if we notice anything, we see anything, but doesn't look like a lot is happening. But again, we can tell you this is a scene of that Border Patrol officer involved shooting.
I can't hear a thing.
Okay. I didn't know if this gentleman was with law enforcement. He might be with.
If they are or aren't, there's no audio on it.
There's no audio on it? Okay. All right. So.
Might be. Hold on.
We might be. Okay. So as Carlene tries to figure out if we're going to get a statement from law enforcement, if this gentleman is law enforcement. Again, the shooting incident occurred this morning. Let's take a listen in. We have something.
What brings me out here, I went by and seen all this stuff out here. Then when I was coming back, I seen all the ones parked up there on my fence line, and I wanted to know if something happened to my fence. And the guys just told me, the Border Patrol told me that there's nothing happened to my fence. So we're all good.
Okay, who's out there? Just kind of describe it, because we can't see it from where we're standing.
Well, they wouldn't tell me who was out there.
But you saw some people out there.
Well, it's got to be Border Patrol and the sheriff. That's the only thing I saw. Anything I can tell you. They're not out there looking at the ground, counting grass and stuff like that. So, I don't know what to tell you.
For people who are not familiar with this area, how close are we to the border? How many times
I don't know. I think we're like 20 miles from the border. And I don't see any more illegals anymore. Since when Trump got back into office, he got back into office to shut all that shit down.
Would you be surprised if someone said that it was an undocumented immigrant that was shot out here this morning?
I wouldn't be. It wouldn't surprise me much.
Why?
People get shot all the time. And I can tell you that. There ain't no way I could tell you that. Because I didn't.
All right, so this is a live interview, so we've kind of figured out who this person is, sort of. It looks like this is a man who either lives on the property, owns the property. He says it's about 20 miles from the border. Excuse us, sorry for the language there. But again, it appears he's not connected to law enforcement. He's just a person who either owns the property, lives in the property, about 20 miles from the border. Again, this is in Tucson, the Tucson, Arizona area, and this is southern Arizona, just to kind of give you perspective. So he's talking, giving his perspective. Let's move away from this. And again, a Border Patrol officer involved shooting there in southern Arizona. We'll continue to follow this story for you. And as soon as more information comes in, we'll bring it to you here on Live Impact News. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are continuing to follow this developing story out in Houston, Texas. NASA plane making belly landing at Ellington Airport. We saw a video earlier of that. You see it right there, that plane landing again, that belly landing. You see flames, you see smoke there coming as it's landing. So we have a statement from NASA. Within the last few minutes, we were able to get something from NASA. So here's what it says. Today, a mechanical issue with one of NASA's WB-57S resulted in a gear-up landing at Ellington Field. Response to the incident is ongoing and all crews are safe at this time. As with any incident, a thorough investigation will be conducted by NASA into the cause. NASA will transparently update the public as we gather more information. Again, this is from Bethany Stevens, posted on X. She's with NASA on what played out there at Ellington Airport in Houston, Texas. And as soon as we get more information, again, we will continue to update you on this situation developing here in Houston, Texas. All right, so back here at home, we are dealing with some cold temperatures. It is freezing outside, especially this morning. I'm talking about in the teens. And so while a lot of folks are looking to get warm, cranked up the heat, there are a lot of people who, especially within our unhoused community, who rely on shelters, rely on organizations for that help, especially when temperatures get cold. This is dangerous cold weather that they're dealing with, that we're dealing with. So Miles Harris, working on a story for us today on how organizations are stepping in to help those unhoused get the essentials they need, get to a warm place, a warm shelter. So we spoke with the American Red Cross earlier today. Let's take a listen into that full interview.
I think we've got. All right, Jason, thank you for joining me, man. Always good to hear from you guys, especially when we're dealing with the cold temperatures out here. And we know that there's still a big population when it comes to the unhoused, really the homeless community out here. So I wanted to touch base with you and ask you guys, really over the weekend and even leading into today, what has the American Red Cross been doing as far as being a resource for those people in need?
Well, we've been doing a lot through our volunteers. We've been working closely with government entities, emergency management, Mecklenburg County, to make sure that the people that need services receive services. So once they set up command at the Emergency Operations Center, Red Cross and other partners were involved, and we were there from the afternoon of Saturday all through Monday, spending the night, spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week there, making sure that the community's needs were being met. More specifically, we were tasked with opening up a shelter along with the with emergency management and Mecklenburg County. So we've been at Grady Cole since Saturday, and we're just finishing up decommissioning this shelter and getting folks to more permanent places.
I was going to say, with it being like cold as it is today, what would you say supply-wise is probably the biggest need that these people want right now?
Well, the biggest need is just having a safe, warm place for them to stay and making sure that that safe, warm place has the things that they need, the bare basics. So food, shelter, water, and then resources. So it's a great place for people to come if they need additional resources. And when we check people in, a couple of things, and those couple of things are, are they interested in resources that the county might be able to provide? And if yes, then we source those resources. We also ask them if they would like for us to share their information with other nonprofits. So nonprofits are able to give more long-term needs, and for their long-term needs are being met. We're a short-term, immediate disaster response organization that works closely with other entities that provide midterm and long-term resources. So our job is to make sure that people have some place to go immediately. They're safe. They're secure. We work closely with the sheriff's department, the police department, to make sure security was a priority. And then we make sure that they have a good place to go after this and there's a path to recovery for them.
And that's an important bridge, I feel like, right? Making sure that these people can kind of find somewhere that long-term stability, that they're not faced with the issues that we might be facing right now. Now, I do want to ask you, Jason, I mean, you've been there, right? What is, when you see these cold temperatures, when you see people outside, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what is the biggest concern that you see when you see really the unhoused dealing with these cold temperatures?
Well, the bottom line is we just want to make sure people are safe and that nobody gets into any precarious situations outside. The extreme is that we don't want anybody to pass away, get hurt, get injured, be put in a desperate situation. So just making sure that they have a cover over their heads, they have a warm place to go. We provide a blanket to them, and then we just provide listening ears. A lot of these people most people don't want to be in a shelter, and we know that. And so we do it during desperate times, and we make sure that they just have the basic needs that are met. And our volunteers are trained to learn how to interact with these folks. So some of these folks just want to talk, want to share their story, want some empathy, and that's what our volunteers are equipped to do. And if they need more professional help, we offer therapy to these folks free of care. We offer spiritual care to these folks, and we know that just giving them a warm place to stay and something to eat doesn't solve all of their. And they might have their basic needs met, but we know that it takes more than that. It's what's in your head and what's in your heart. And so we address that with health therapists and spiritual care therapists.
Now, one of my last questions that I have for you, though, Jason, is, I mean, I know that it'll get warmer today for a bit, but we could see some more freezing, frigid temperatures this weekend. Anything that you guys want the community to know as we kind of possibly look for that heading into the weekend as well?
Yeah, there's been a lot of great information shared with news organizations and government and the Red Cross about preparing for inclement weather. A little over a week ago, we shared all of that information along with the other organizations that I mentioned. That still applies. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you're prepared. A gallon of water per day per person in your household. Have a plan. If power goes out, what are you going to do? So make sure that you have cash on hand, batteries on hand for flashlights, and fill up a tub full of water in case you're on well water and you can't flush, in case you need to drink water. And make sure you stay in touch with your neighbors, particularly the neighbors that might be elderly, might not be as mobile. Have a community of folks that you can rely on and be a part of the solution. And don't drive if you don't have to. Allow our first responders to address the needs of people that are going through horrible times, and don't add to the problem. If you can, stay hunkered down, stay inside, wait for the weather to be safe to drive.
Jason, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yes, I would love to just tell people that the county loves you. The government agencies love you. It's been a pleasure working for the Red Cross, working with so many organizations that care so much about the community, from emergency management to Meck County to Parks and Rec. The CATS system was involved with us, the Sheriff Department, the Police Department, so many wonderful organizations, Animal Care and Control, been great to work. It's not just the Red Cross that stands this up and shuts it down. It takes a whole community to support a community, and all of our partners have been wonderful to work with. Fire department's been really extremely helpful. We were on a ground stop. The Red Cross was on a ground stop because the roads were too icy. The fire department has trained drivers and vehicles that are equipped to handle these conditions, and they were picking up volunteers from their homes, driving them to our shelters, and as we shifted people out, they were driving volunteers from the shelters to their homes. So we made sure that we had fresh volunteers that got proper rest after the extended period of time at the shelter, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without the Charlotte Fire Department.
Wow, that's awesome to hear. Like you said, a village takes a village, right? So
takes a village.
Jason, thank you so much, man.
All right, so that was WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris. Miles is covering that story for us. Let me check to see when Miles, I usually have this up, is going to be on our shows. He'll be 4 and 5:30. So again, he's talking to different organizations helping our unhoused community through talking about some dangerously cold temperatures. Speaking of dangerously cold temperatures and it impacting our community right now. Charlotte Water working to fix multiple water main breaks and pipe bursts. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay is here in studio. Julie, I asked you, I said, how many pipe bursts? I mean, how many water main breaks? What is the city dealing with? And it's kind of one of those things is like, it's an ever-evolving situation right now.
Yeah, I literally said, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
the two main main breaks that we're following, but of course, kind of endless, smaller pipe bursts, things like
Yeah.
that. Some that are within the city's jurisdiction, some outside of it that some plumbing companies will have to deal with. So there's a lot happening here today. And so just the main message I would say is the winter storm is over, but the impacts of these freezing temperatures are not. In fact, today is extra cold, and that is why we are dealing with all of these impacts today. So the main ones we're looking at, there's one in Matthews on West John Street. Notably, this is a repeat water main break. There was one back in October in the same spot. Another one closer to where we are in South Charlotte is on Sharon Amity and Providence Road, kind of near that intersection with a couple of churches. So that's where me and our photographer Will went to earlier today. Our morning crews went to both those water main breaks that I mentioned. We were there around noon. Crews were still out there working. So when you think about how big these pipes are, they're going to take a whole lot longer. The city did send me a statement, which I'm going to pull up. They said Charlotte water crews are responding to multiple leaks this morning, likely due to freezing temperatures. Rapid freezing and thawing can stress underground pipes, that back and forth of temperatures that we get when the sun comes out versus overnight. Today it feels pretty cold across the board.
Right.
But when you're dealing with these really old pipes, any of that temperature change, especially when it's this cold, can be really difficult. So I didn't get a chance to speak with the city themselves. They're busy actually dealing with the situations. But I did speak to Wyatt Works, one of our plumbing companies in the nearby area. We spoke to them yesterday too, and they said that the amount of calls they're getting is increasing since even the last time we talked to them.
I read 100. Is that correct?
Yeah, at least 100 today, and that
Wow.
was 2 hours ago now. So I can imagine I can imagine it's getting even worse. So thank you to them for taking the time to speak to us, because I'm sure they're very, very busy. But they kind of walked us through, the difference between we talk about a small home pipe burst, something that they might be dealing with today, versus a huge water main break. Of course, the difference is size of pipe, age of pipe. They're going to be a lot bigger, a lot older, as I mentioned. And sometimes they're a little bit closer to ground level, meaning they're more impacted by the cold temperatures. That may be what we're seeing in Matthews with a repeat burst like this. I also did get an update from Matthews Police. Remember, this happened like really, really early this morning.
Yeah.
Matthews Police tells me the latest update from Charlotte Water is that they are making progress, but not to expect the road to be reopened until sometime after today's afternoon rush hour. So these things do also take a long time, especially when you're dealing with multiple, and that's why we're covering this today, because it's got impacts on traffic, on road safety. I mean, some of the water has frozen over on top of the roadway, especially on Providence. So just watch out today if you're driving.
Oh, man. A messy situation, to say the least. Julie has continued to follow these updates, because it's kind of like a minute by minute, hour by hour update with these water main breaks, and they've been dealing with this since early this morning. Julie, when can folks find your story?
5 and 6, and I also want to mention you can follow Charlotte Water on X, and that's where they're going to be posting updates on where they're working at what moment.
Hopefully we have some good news by 5 and 6.
Hopefully.
Julie, thank you for your time. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene Bragg's also here in studio. A big day for the NBC family, Today Show family. Today marking 30 years of Al Roker on Today. In January 1996, did you know, Carlene, in January 1996, Al Roker officially took over as Today's weatherman. And for the anniversary, 3 decades in the making, Today paid tribute to Al and his iconic journey at NBC. I got a chance to check out some of it this morning. But our very own
we have an icon in-house.
Weather icon, who just celebrated 40 years at WCNC Charlotte.
Not to leg up on Al, but
but hey, we have our own icon.
Yeah, we got to acknowledge game.
But he paid tribute to Al.
He sure did.
He paid tribute to Al this morning. They've had a couple of good moments over the years. Let's check out that tribute from our own Larry Sprinkle to Al Roker.
Kind of like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then.
I'm Shaggy.
I mean, we could just put that on replay.
Come on.
Just put it on replay.
Larry Sprinkle with the moves.
Give the people what they want. Hey, folks, it's a major milestone for our friends at NBC. Today marks 30 years of anchor weatherman Al Roker on the Today Show. During his time there, he's earned every possible award, every single recognition there is out there, covered every single storm. And he's really credited for helping evolve what you see today when it comes to weathercasting, whether it's the graphics, it's on-the-ground reporting. A lot of it came from Mr. Roker himself, so happy anniversary to Al Roker from all of us here at WCNC.
Love that. Happy anniversary.
Anniversary.
What a guy. He's such a really good guy. I mean, he's got a big heart, a great family man, and had over the past 30 years I've worked with him a lot. Got to know him pretty well as a friend, and we're doing a live shot in Myrtle Beach a couple of years, about 3 years ago.
Yes.
And he asked me, what do people do here? I said, well, they like to shag. Well, he was taken aback by that. Then I had to show him. So consequently, the world's worst shagger, Larry Sprinkle, teaching Al Roker.
I don't know.
I don't know about world's worst.
No. If you only knew. And then we go back in time, back to about 1996. Al and I were doing another live shot here in Charlotte, and he just grabbed me and said, Larry, let me show you how to do this right. I am your friend. But there you can see the old logo back in the background there.
Yes.
Many times had a chance to work with Al over the years, but congratulations. Happy 30th anniversary. By the way, he made more guest appearances on Late Night with Conan O'Brien than anyone.
Really?
Over 30 guest appearances. What would happen? He actually lives pretty close to the studio, the Ed Sullivan Theater, and when a guest would cancel, hey Al, can you come over? And he would show up and be the guest out there.
And you think about, you think about 30 years, and you will still often see him do the Today Show and Nightly News.
Without a doubt.
The same day.
Yeah. Just last night, he was there.
Yeah, it's a work ethic.
It really
I tell you what, he's a great role model for all of us, a great friend, and congratulations. Happy 30th anniversary on the Today Show.
Absolutely.
He's seen a lot of the years. By the way, he actually was succeeded Willard Scott, who was before that. He had to be around a long time. And Willard, by the way, has a lot of connections to the Carolinas. His family is all from Wilkes County, so I got to know Willard very well as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Al.
Happy anniversary.
I said Al like I know him, but
Yeah.
I feel like you know him because you see him on TV.
He's been around for 30 years.
30 years. I mean,
Been in our homes.
I've only been alive for 25.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Shout out to Al Roker. Shout out to Larry Sprinkle as well. Let's make a turn. We want to go to Washington, D.C. We're happening right now. NTSB holding a media availability with Chairwoman Homendy. This follows the board meeting in the boardroom there. She's talking about that DCA collision, mid-air collision last year. Let's take a listen in.
End of runway 33, and we need to do something about it. We have helicopter routes where we have unsafe practices right now. We need to do something. How many times do tower personnel, who, by the way, put their own helicopter working group together and kept submitting one recommendation after another? We need help. We need help. We need help.
apparently falling on deaf ears. So I will also get the, oh, she sounds angry. We should be angry because for years no one listened. This was preventable. This was 100% preventable. Frankly, having a helicopter route crossing runway 33 with only 75 feet of, that means 75 feet of vertical separation. What that means is 75 feet at best separating a helicopter and civilian aircraft. Nowhere in the airspace is that okay. Nowhere. This shouldn't have existed. Tom, you were the second person. I apologize.
Madam Chair, Tom Costello with NBC News. Are you concerned that there may be other hotspots right now that the FAA is not paying attention to?
Question is, are there other hotspots? And am I concerned that the FAA is not paying attention to those other hotspots? The answer to that is yes. The FAA did a evaluation of the national airspace, I believe, as a result of Senator Cruz and Senator Cantwell asking for that evaluation. I'm not sure that I'm not comfortable with it. I keep hearing about other areas in the airspace where they're concerned. Burbank is one where commercial airlines have called me to say the next midair is going to be at Burbank. And nobody at FAA is paying attention to us. So whether it is involving helicopters or not, people are raising red flags. And why aren't people listening? The FAA has to ensure safety. That is their job. Yes.
And then on the air current. So I know we have yet to see the text of the recommendations that will come later this afternoon. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you plan to sort of address some of the cultural issues that the board has displayed here. I know that we talked about like specific things with respect to equipage or whatnot, but how do you address some of these big cultural issues that prevented, say, controllers' recommendations from being elevated or from Army pilots really understanding some of the risks in the airspace they were flying in?
The question is, how do you change culture, essentially? And are you just referring to FAA or also Army?
Everyone, yeah.
I mean, culture is the hardest to change in any organization. I can tell you this much. I knew there was a safety culture problem when we had a hearing on the door plug. We had a hearing and I asked a question, do you have a good safety culture? I asked Boeing, they said, we could do better. I asked Spirit, that we could do better. I asked FAA, they said, our safety culture is great. My response was, the individual organization that says they have a great safety culture is the problem. Because I'm the NTSB chair. We are the safety organization. But safety culture, having a good safety culture is not a destiny. It is a continual journey. It is a continual improvement process. So if you look at my own agency, frankly, I always think there's room for improvement. Always. But changing culture is so hard. So I have to say I want to work with FAA. I want to work with the leadership at FAA. I know the board wants to work with the leadership at FAA in partnership to figure out what we can do to help improve safety culture. We have heard from so many individuals who won't even put their name on anything, don't want to be interviewed formally because they are afraid of retaliation. That's terrible. Because what happens then, people won't speak up when there's a safety issue. I know that this is on Administrator Bedford's, top of his mind, and the Secretary, we've talked about it. But we've got to figure out a way to improve safety culture.
So is the FAA falling down on safety?
That is two questions you got. I will come back to that after I call on these two, Pete and then Josh. I knew it was Josh. I just need to make sure. Yeah, I just was making sure. Yeah, okay. Pete.
Chairman, it's Pete Hunting with CNN. There was a lot of talk today about ADS-B. Would ADS-B have played a factor in preventing this crash, and can it prevent future crashes like this?
Absolutely, ADS-B would have helped prevent this crash. We did simulations in Flight 5342. The crew in this accident, from TCAS got a traffic alert at 19 seconds before collision. You know what a pilot is doing when you get a traffic alert? You're looking around going, well, where is it? Not visible in this situation. They would have, with ADS-B in, gotten an alert at 59 seconds before the collision and been able to take measures to avert it. For the helicopter crew, 48 seconds. They didn't even know. It is clear from the CVR they didn't even know it was on the left.
Should more airlines equip with ADS-B?
Should more airlines equip with ADS-B? Absolutely, all of them. And we're not just talking airlines. ADS-B in, there's already ADS-B out. ADS-B in, which is receiving information about aircraft that's in the airspace, should be on Part 121 commercial airlines. You got passengers. You want to see what's there? It should be on Part 135 operations. And it should be on 91 general aviation. It should be throughout the airspace as required. Everywhere there's ADS-B out, there should be ADS-B in.
So what's your message to special interests who push back against this? Sorry.
Wow, that's 3, and I really limited. Okay.
But really, I think it's an important question because, like, it seems that there are a lot of people who don't want this for one reason or another.
Then I'd say the question is, there are a lot of people who don't want this for one reason or another. I'd say, are you for safety? You want lives lost? Then don't do it. But if you want lives saved, implement it. We've been after this for years, since 1968, frankly, and going back. I've got Josh, then I'll go back to your second question. Josh.
One more.
Oh no, we can't. I wasn't real good at the. Just give me a peanut butter sandwich.
Josh Einiger, MS. The Route 4 is over. The conflict with helicopters and commercial air traffic at DCA is hopefully a thing of the past. Too late, obviously. But your investigation has revealed tremendous issues with DCA as it is. The structure of the airport that's been in place since the 40s and it's drastically outmoded. It's chaos daily to this day. Does this give you any second thought? It's your home airport, about the safety at DCA and what it's going to take to make it a safer place?
Well, I certainly think about how can we make it safer? That's why we're here. It is my home airport, and it's where I fly out of and choose to fly out of, my whole family. You know, aviation is safe, is in general. But these are complex systems where there are safety gaps. And when you have certain conditions, certain systemic vulnerabilities that allow for error, you have to address those conditions. I will, though, take a little bit of issue on, well, this isn't an issue at DCA. If you look at the national airspace evaluation that FAA did of all the other places for helicopter routes, they did not evaluate the other helicopter routes at DCA. They only looked at 4, and we're going to have something to say about that coming up.
Have you looked at the other routes around it?
Where's that is not for us to do. FAA needs to do that. Geez, I don't even know. Well, you had your hand up before. Then I go to Dave, and then I go over here.
Chairwoman, appreciate your time. Ben Dennis with DC News Now. Do you have any evidence that one person or several people were purposefully negligent leading up to this crash? And if not, and if it was a period of systemic issues, how can the FAA actually be held responsible?
On negligence, I mean, if we felt there was any sort of negligence, there would be probably some criminal component to that, and we'd have to refer that to the authorities. So we don't have any evidence of just plain out negligence. With accountability, I mean, that's why we issue recommendations, and we're going to push hard to pursue implementation of those recommendations. It isn't that we ensure a safe airspace until our recommendations are implemented. Right now we have 300 recommendations that have not been implemented on aviation safety, which were issued after people died. And those need to be implemented to save lives. Dave?
Real quick, you mentioned in one of the presentations that the FAA rejected a recommendation to move or get rid of Route 4 after this 2013 near miss. You also referenced the failure to do the alcohol testing after these incidents, and a litany of other issues. And you've dealt with the FAA a number of times. You referenced Polly Trottenberg and Mike Whitaker's letters saying we're not going to do the ADSB recommendations. What do you think the cultural problem is in the FAA? Is it just the agency thinks it knows better, or doesn't? For all the time you spent on the FAA, what's the problem?
Question is, what is the cultural problem at the FAA? What is the problem with them taking these recommendations seriously? I can't answer that. I wish I could. I don't know. But they definitely need some serious reform. Yes?
I'm Pavan Achari with Politico's Transportation Team. I wanted to ask about the Rotor Act, which relates to ADSB technologies. It passed by unanimous consent out of the Senate last month, but it hasn't moved forward in the House at all. Have you talked to House leaders about the bill since then?
So on the Rotor Act, I've been very focused on this investigation. It's a lot to read, 19,000 pages. I read it all over again right before we do a final report, and to prepare, it's a lot to prepare for a board meeting. So I've been very focused on this right now, but appreciate the leadership certainly of the Senate in getting that out. And I do intend certainly to talk to others on the House and Senate.
Is the FAA falling down on safety?
Is the FAA falling down on safety? I would say that they did fall down on safety. I believe that this Secretary Duffy, and Administrator Bedford are committed to safety. I've had numerous conversations with them about improving safety, not just in our airspace, but in other modes of transportation. I believe they are committed to safety. This did not happen on their watch, and I'll hold them to that commitment.
Last one?
Did you?
I had a previous FAA chief say to me that the airlines were their customers, that the FAA was treating airlines like their customers. They had to be responsive to customers. That's been a number of years ago. Is there a mentality within the FAA that airlines are to be served as opposed to holding them accountable?
Is there a mentality in FAA on that airlines should be served as customers rather than holding them accountable and ensuring safety? I don't know that. I'm sure I've heard things over the years, the same sorts of things that you mentioned, but I don't know that for a fact.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that press conference there with Chairwoman Homendy with NTSB just wrapping up. Again, a hearing happening today regarding that DCA mid-air collision that happened almost a year ago. Again, we're going to continue to keep an eye on what unfolds here in Washington, D.C., but you're taking a live look as that press conference just wrapped up with Chairwoman Homendy. All right, let's come back out now. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Again, we are monitoring chances of some sort of winter weather again this weekend. Yes, again, this would, if it happens, would make the third week in a row we have tracked winter weather moving across our area. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich with our outlook.
Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We got to talk about a weekend winter weather threat, a much different system than this past ice storm, sleet storm, whatever you want to call this past weekend, which was much more of a mess, less snow, more ice. This is going to be primarily our typical winter event where we have a coastal low and the potential for good old-fashioned snow. It's either going to be snow or nothing at all. There's no dreaded mix or rain or sleet or ice. It's going to be snow or nothing at all. Right now, the current outlook is for about a 10 to 30% chance of at least 2-3 inches of snow in the light green and 30 to 50% for eastern North Carolina. But I want you to notice that the trend is here this direction. Now, there is a chance this shifts back west a little bit with time because we're still Tuesday, but I'll kind of show you the potential impacts. The one thing we know for sure, potentially plenty of cold air, and it's deep cold air. It's not the shallow cold air. If you're outside today, cold this morning in 2, maybe 6 years, depending on where you are. I got down to 10.8, which is the second coldest temperature I've ever had at this current home, which I've been in since 2018. So kind of tells you how cold it's been. It really was the coldest for me since December 2022 when we had that 9-degree low. I had 10.3, I think, that morning. But plenty of cold air that's locked in all week. So we've got a couple tracks. We've got the nothing track, which is kind of out to sea. We're kind of in this something track right now. And again, this is for the Charlotte area, Western Carolinas, the coast. Either one of these tracks would bring significant impacts. And even the nothing track could brush you with snow flurries. So I'm primarily talking about west of I-95 here. So the something track and the winter impacts track, definitely trending there. So let's look at the model data. I'm waiting for the new stuff to come in. It's really slow this morning. But what you can see is this eastern trough and then this low bombs out here off the southeast. This is a real strong signal of a low pressure system, your nor'easter think. So this is going to be a pretty significant low pressure system. And honestly, if it blows up a little bit, it could be a big storm for somebody on the East Coast. It's got all that potential. I showed you the probabilities. We can look at the chances of at least moderate impacts from snow. And you can see this highlighted area in red. Again, I'll scroll up just to show you the red. It's about 60% plus. The yellow is about 40% plus, and that's for moderate impacts. If I go to minor impacts, you could see we're going to see probably a bigger area of red, which is 60, 70, 80%. Now, the reason this could have higher impacts for lighter snow amounts, it's super cold air. This is going to be fluffy snow. The ground is cold. Whatever falls would likely stick pretty easily. Now, if we look at the probabilities of getting 1 inch of snow, I think this tells you a lot right here. We'll go through Monday morning. And if you look closely, you can see these areas in yellow right here. This is the 50% contour. So that's a 50% chance of getting 1 inch of snow. Charlotte is currently in the 40% chance. So it's definitely something. I always look for the 50% and above, especially this far out, to kind of give you a good gauge. But you can see some areas in eastern North Carolina, it's closer to 60 or 70% for some of these. I mean, this is an impressive storm. This is the vorticity. And for weather geeks out there, you know what I'm looking at. You can see this this big disturbance. This is coming in the northern branch of the jet stream. It's so strong, it dives down here. It causes low pressure to form on the coast. And this is true Arctic air. Watch this thing come down and you'll see it kind of shift to the coast and boom. And even takes on a little bit of that negative tilt, which is a tilt of the storm like this. That's negative. This is positive. That's neutral. That's positive. When you see a negative tilt, that throws tons of moisture back into this really cold air. This 540 line, that's the rain snow line typically, where you have all snow. You get a couple thicknesses down, you can still get snow, but that puts us solidly in snow. So that's why I said the confidence in this being all snow is super high, regardless of what falls. So that is what we're watching right now. We'll go back to the track. This is what we'll be watching for the next 24 hours. For the first time, I'm bringing out the snow meter this weekend because this is not an ice event. I didn't really bring it out for the last one because it wasn't going to be much snow. But right now, as of Tuesday, it is January 27th. We're going to keep it at a 3 because it's a legit chance of snow. I don't know how much. Could be nothing, could be flurries, could be much more, but we're definitely going to see snow flurry chances. The chance is there. So stay tuned. The timing, by the way, probably earliest Friday night, but primarily Saturday into Sunday. Of course, it's Tuesday. We'll have updates as we get closer. Third weekend in a row, at least the threat of wintry weather. 3 weeks ago, it was a no big deal. We told you flurries, rain. Past weekend, ice event, the worst kind. This weekend, more of your typical legitimate snowstorm chance. But the story should be the coast, eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Those are the areas that probably get the traditional nor'easter setup. So it's very, very interesting to watch going into the weekend.
All right, so that is our snow outlook for this weekend. All right, so happening right now, let's take you here to Iowa. This is a live look in Des Moines, Iowa, where we are expected to hear from President Trump this afternoon, speaking at a rally regarding affordability, regarding the economy. So that's happening. Those folks are waiting there. We were able to hear from President Trump earlier today. He spoke with reporters ahead of this trip to Iowa. Again, his message here in Iowa regarding affordability and the economy. However, President Trump did take questions from reporters regarding everything that's unfolding in Minneapolis right now. Let's take a listen in to that gaggle that happened earlier outside of the White House.
Conversation with the highly respected president of Syria and all of the things having to do with Syria and that area working out very, very well. So we're very happy about it. Tom Homan, as you know, is in Minnesota now. He's meeting with the governor and he's meeting with the mayor, I think, later. And I hear that's all going very well also. I'm going to Iowa. Some of you are coming with me, but I'm going to Iowa. And what can I say? The economy is good. It's all good. Prices are coming way down. And we have a lot of very positive news.
Do you believe that Alex Truddy's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No.
The president of Syria,
the president of Venezuela said that he has not taking orders from you. What do you have to say about that? Well, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I haven't heard that at all. No, we have a very good relationship.
What about
I'd like to see interest rates go down. Everything else is going down. We have the energy and fuel going down. We have gasoline in many states now at $1.99. Groceries are going down. We inherited a mess with very, very high prices, very, very high prices. And I will tell you, we've made a lot of progress. So we have the groceries going down. We have the energy going down. We have gasoline going down at a record clip. And that's what I want to do. We're doing well. Well, I'm looking at that whole situation. I love everybody. I love all of our people. I love his family. And it's a very sad situation. Yeah, please. I have, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs, and everything else, and that border is absolutely closed. So well, prices are coming down. The border is really strong. You know, if you remember, I probably got elected more than anything else on the border. We had a border that was open with 25 million people coming through with an open border policy, which was insane. And that's the policy that caused the problems that we have. With all of that being said, then I would say, just to put it accurately, Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, because it's not all of Minnesota, every city that we've gone to has been, like, literally crime has gone down 50, 60, 70, 80. In Washington, it's gone down to practically no crime. You know, Washington is a great example, but you take a look at other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, the crime is down 78%. And you know where else it's down? It's down in Minnesota. It's down in Minneapolis, and it's down very much because of the fact that we're there. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we have to take murderers and drug lords and people from mental institutions that were dumped into our country through open borders of the Democrats, of Biden, and we're doing a great job.
All right, so that is President Trump earlier this afternoon before he boarded Air Force One, headed to Iowa, ready for that rally there in Iowa. As you can see, a live look there, folks, getting ready to hear from the president, talk about affordability. That is the message that he will be talking to in front of these people here at this rally in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa. All right, let's take a step aside. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So we want to take you back now to Washington, D.C., with NTSB. It's holding a hearing right now on that deadly DCA collision. Happened almost a year ago. Let's take a listen in to what's happening right now.
Active position data showed evidence of mid-air collision risk between airplanes and helicopters near DCA in the years before the accident, but existing systems did not recognize or mitigate the risk. We found that key stakeholders either did not have access to or were not making full use of the data. For example, some of the systems used to analyze radar data for close proximity encounters in this investigation had rarely been used for that purpose before the accident. We found that there was no standard definition to signify when aircraft are too close, which hindered the ability to track their incidents over time or to compare risk levels of different locations. Lastly, although helicopters regularly triggered TCAS resolution advisories for airplanes approaching DCA, we found that helicopter operators were largely unaware of their involvement in these events, and there was no standard mechanism to alert them after such events. Staff have proposed 2 recommendations to the FAA in this area. Next, excuse me. Next, I will discuss the safety management systems that were in place at the FAA, PSA, and the Army at the time of this accident. Multiple investigative groups coordinated to document and evaluate these systems. The United States is a member of the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, which sets standards for SMS. It calls for inclusion of 4 main components: safety policy, safety risk management, safety assurance, and safety promotion. Building and sustaining a positive safety culture is also considered foundational to an effective SMS. Both PSA and the FAA developed SMS programs using this model. ICAO requirements do not apply to military aircraft operations. The Army, therefore, had unique regulations and guidance for aviation safety programs. In the remainder of my presentation, I will focus on SMS policies and implementation by the ATO and the Army. At the time of the accident, the FAA had an established SMS for several of its organizations, including the ATO and ATO facilities, such as the DCA Tower. Its SMS policy described the required 4 components of SMS. However, this investigation revealed gaps in ATO's application of safety risk management and safety assurance in comparison to FAA's guidance for other service providers. We found that unlike the FAA SMS guidance for operators, which established requirements for coordinating with relevant external parties to collect and share safety hazard information, the same requirement is not reflected in the ATO SMS guidance, which is limited to bargaining unit representatives and management at FAA air traffic facilities. There was no formal process at DCA for the FAA to share information about helicopter route traffic, TCAS resolution advisories, or potential conflicts with external stakeholders. The formation of a helicopter working group was an example of an informal collaboration among multiple stakeholders designed to promote safety. However, as previously discussed, that group was not able to effect changes such as relocating helicopter Route 4 or adding hotspots to the route chart and spots with potential conflicts. We found that the ATO's application of its SMS did not recognize and mitigate the risk of a mid-air collision at DCA, nor did it effectively coordinate SMS activities with external stakeholders. As a result, staff have proposed 2 recommendations to the FAA in this area. We also found that ATO management eroded the overall safety culture within ATO by not supporting its workforce, encouraging open communication, identifying and mitigating operational challenges faced by controllers, or fostering a just culture. Interviews with ATO staff indicated that they feared retaliation for raising safety issues, and management often discouraged filing reports because it made the facility look bad. Interviews with current and former DCA tower personnel indicated that morale had been low for years before the accident due to the 2018 facility level downgrade and from the FAA's lack of transparency regarding the metrics used to support that decision. External compliance verifications at DCA between 2022 and 2024 identified non-compliant items, including lack of staff support, poor communication between Potomac Tracon and the DCA tower, and concerns about potential conflicts with helicopter routes, but the ATO failed to recognize these items as indicative of problems at DCA. Finally, DCA tower management personnel were reassigned after the accident, an action that appeared inconsistent with the characteristics of a positive safety culture. As a result, staff has proposed one recommendation to the Department of Transportation in this area. With respect to the U.S. Army safety assurance policies, Army safety programs were required to incorporate an occupational hazard reporting and investigation program managed by unit aviation safety officers. Aviation safety concerns could be submitted using operational hazard reports, or OHRs, which required filling out and submitting a form detailing the issue. OHRs submitted to safety officers were to be corrected at the lowest level possible. When FAA facilities or operations were involved, it was sent to the nearest Flight Standards District Office and to the Department of the Army Regional Representative. The Army Safety Management Information System, or ASMIS, was another venue to report safety events, including mishaps and near misses. Mishaps and near misses were broadly defined and could include both aviation and non-aviation safety events and events that occurred on and off duty. Although helicopters had triggered multiple airplane TCAS resolution advisories and they had been the subject of safety occurrence reports submitted by airplane pilots and controllers, the Army's safety reporting programs did not provide information about those encounters. An Army review of ASMIS found no reports of aviation mishaps or near misses near DCA area or OHRs referencing the DC helicopter routes or other hazards in the area. Interviews with Army pilots suggested that participation in voluntary reporting programs was limited. Additionally, the Army did not have a program to monitor operational flight data for its helicopters and, as a result, was unaware of routine altitude exceedances and related risks in the DCA terminal area. Such a program could have not only helped identify altitude exceedances, but may have also raised awareness about cumulative errors in the UH-60 Lima's barometric altimeter system. As a result of these findings, staff have proposed 3 recommendations to the U.S. Army in this area. In 2024, the Secretary of the Army issued a directive for the adoption of an Army Safety and Occupational Health Management System, or ASOMS, the Army's first official SMS framework. The elements described in the directive are similar to ICAO SMS components described earlier. The directive required incorporating ASOMS in Army Safety Program regulations by September 2026, and it required Army commands and organizations to be fully compliant by the end of calendar year 2030. Our reviews indicated that progress has been made in incorporating the directive's requirements in policy documents, but ASOM's implementation has been slow, which may stem from several causes, including resource and staffing issues and a distribution of safety management responsibilities across Army organizations. Additionally, we found that the Army lacked a positive safety culture in that its aviation safety system did not have the capacity, resources, or analytical mechanisms to consistently detect, interpret, and act on weak signals of latent hazards. Overall, we found that the Army's process for allocating resources to aviation safety management did not ensure development of a robust SMS for helicopter operations in the Washington, D.C. area. As a result, staff have proposed 2 recommendations to the U.S. Army in this area. This concludes my presentation, and we are now ready to answer your questions.
Thank you. Member Inman.
Thank you. And I'll go back. And Dr. Price, that was really helpful. I think I guess I also want to, because you kind of broke it down a little bit differently, because I pulled some information out of our report. I think it gets to the same place, but we state that performance data analysis and reporting, or PDAR, indicates there were 4,067 encounters between 2018 and 25, in which separation between the helicopters and the fixed-wing aircraft was less than or equal to 1,000 feet. In 348 of those, the separation was less than 500 feet. To what extent did the FAA utilize that data prior to this mid-air collision?
Thank you for that question. In the case of PDARs in particular, after this accident was the first time that that system had been used in this fashion to look at the incidents. And in fact, it was a novel use of this system and a very useful one for our investigation. But before this investigation, PDARs had not been used in that fashion.
So I want to go back to the different ways that people can give information. So the way I read it, there's currently the Aviation Safety Action Program, or ASAP, the Air Traffic Safety Action Program, or ATSAP, the Mandatory Occurrence Reports, or MORS, the Near Mid-Air Collision Systems, NMACS, the Aviation Safety Reporting System, ASARS, and the Army Safety Management Information System. Now, collectively, it sounds like pilots and individual controllers were ringing a bell saying something's dangerous, do something. And I'm just curious, is the FAA, were they taking this information? Do they have the capacity? And will they take action on it? That's 3 questions in one. I'm sorry, Dr. Price.
Well, certainly there were numerous different reporting systems that provided information about near misses and events that were happening at DCA before this accident. And the FAA did have access to all of those systems. Our investigation revealed that in general, the reviews of these systems were largely happening kind of on a case-by-case basis and weren't necessarily being looked at in an aggregate fashion. And when we do a look back, of course, we can see that there was a definitive pattern in these data, both with the safety reporting data and with the position data that I mentioned. But as the FAA even noted in our public hearing, that was something that, although they had opportunities to see, they did not detect and mitigate before this accident.
Since that time, have they indicated that they are using this data correctly?
Thank you for reminding me about that question. Since the accident, we do have evidence that the FAA has put some of these data to use. They did a analysis in 10 different cities with 16 airports where they used these data to look at and assess risk in airports that had helicopter traffic, and they have made some recommendations as a result of those. One of the things that we remarked on, though, is that they are still not using a standardized approach for looking at that issue. And it's something that we think is necessary to have more of a standard definition of what constitutes a close proximity event, so that there can be a way of comparing one airport to another or looking at trends over time, rather than what is kind of a hodgepodge, if you will, right now of different ways of measuring this.
So I guess even though he didn't present, Captain, just want to get your attention first. Are you under the impression whenever people file these reports, somebody's actually listening?
I would say generally you file a report and you don't hear anything back.
So what's the purpose of filing a report?
Dr. Price can probably answer this better, but I think it goes into a database.
You're asking what is the purpose of a voluntary report?
I guess I think a lot of people in aviation and a lot of us believe if you're saying something, somebody's looking at it or they're going to take action. Is that a misperception?
Well, no. I think that these safety reporting systems are vital and they serve an important purpose, and we would hope And we would like to believe that when a pilot or a controller files a voluntary safety report, that it will be looked at and will be considered very.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Colin Mayfield inside the Impact Studio here on WCNC Plus. We'll be hanging with you for the next hour before we send things to our linear show at 4 o'clock on WCNC Charlotte. We hope you tune into that. But we're going to start with Jesse Pierre, one of our most consistent and awesome reporters. Jesse, it's good to have you in-house. I know you were out in the cold all week and all weekend, but you know, transit is really changing around the city of Charlotte, right? And we've talked about the transit authority, you know, where they're headed. There's been some big updates in that where people have been able to weigh in terms of modernization of payments, trying to keep things more safe. What does that look like? Because you just were at a meeting today, and it sounds like they have some ideas in this area.
Right. So this is after an 18-month FAIR study, and CATS did their first public meeting today. They have another one later at 5 o'clock in person, and kind of just breaking down some of the recommendations that they have. And, you know, they talked about a lot of different things, but I think the biggest change is how riders are going to pay and validate their trip. Okay. So they plan to have these validators that are going to be placed. So for on the light rail, it'll be placed on the platforms, and you have to validate your trip before you get on. You know, there's like a certain area, a fair area where you would have to have it validated. So there's a couple of things. One, they're introducing new ways to pay. You can still use your CATS app to pay, but they're also adding now a new smart card where kind of like what they have in New York where you can reload it or so forth. So you can create an account and then you'll be able to load money in that card and use it and so forth. And you could also use your credit card or debit card. And so the good thing about the smart card, credit card, debit card, you literally will tap the validator and that will take care of your fare. So that you can pay for it, but you could also use the validator to also, you know, activate or validate your fare. So I don't know if that was clear.
Right.
And then you also can use your mobile wallet. You know, everyone's using their phones to pay for everything now anyways. And so you don't have to like go to extra means. You literally put that on the mobile app and on the validator, and that will take care of your fare.
Okay.
So that you can go in. And so again, it's just kind of like one of the things they're looking to really modernize the system.
Would that be on the train or the bus, or would that be outside,
so
like a stationary thing?
So it would be stationary.
Okay.
And
sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. I was looking to see if I can pull up what they call the exact space. So you would be like, so they would be within a paid fare zone, and to be in that paid fare zone, you have to make sure to tap your card or smart card or credit card to that validator, and that would mean you have paid. Now, I asked them all, well, not I didn't ask, but one of the questions was about enforcement, right?
Yeah.
So once you tap it, it'll light up green, and that will be a signal for like CAT staff to know, like, oh, this person paid and you know, is you know, validated or got their fare to be taking the trip.
Okay.
Now, with that, they've also talked about so many different things in the future when it comes to using technology, using AI, using cameras to really, again, continue to enforce and reduce like fare evasion.
Yeah.
And so this, you know, we're looking at this as like the very early steps. This is right now just the proposals too.
Yeah.
And so it still needs to go through a board. It still needs to be approved before it's even enforced or out there active and so forth, and that wouldn't happen until next year.
Okay, you bring up a good point. I feel like there's a fine line to where, like, how many cameras we want, like being able to access facial recognition software, which it sounds like in a lot of spaces that's where AI is going to be heading, and I don't know if they're specifically looking at that facial recognition software, but it kind of leads to this conversation, right, of like, how safe do we need to be? Because we had discussed really off air for a second that there are incidents even at closed, what did you call them? Remind me, closed transit.
I would just say like ours is an open system.
So open system, so a closed system. Right, like the L, like New York, right? And so is that what you think is going to be coming, like that type of form of AI? Have they really specified that?
You know, it's not even really about faces, right? When it comes to that, it really comes to, you know, the electronics, right? And data and, you know, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be so much more work to come on this and how they would be used. But, you know, if you've paid, maybe your phone's green or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just, or if you do make it across maybe it'll be red or something to show
Yeah.
like, oh,
You're not
this
supposed to
person,
be there.
right? You're not supposed to be there. There's nothing
Okay.
validated. Because when I think of like going to the airport, right, and you pay for your parking, you just have your mobile app. I don't necessarily scan anything.
True.
But I just open it on my email and it's already going up.
Right.
So it's already connected to my thing to let them know.
Right.
And maybe it's my license. Who knows? But I always think of like, things are moving so fast because
Right.
of technology and just how things are being, moving together. But
Right.
in general, the idea is to just make this more simplified, to modernize it. And
Yeah.
I think that, when we're looking at it 10 years later,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to be so much further along even with that. And right now, this is literally just like giving the public information, letting the public weigh in on all of this. And, we'll just kind of see what next steps are taken from here,
I guess my one other thing is, did anybody bring up about hardening the system, like closing the system like we talked about? Because that would be an immense amount of investment, I know, right? It wouldn't be easy to do. I don't know exactly how many stops they have around the city. I'm sure it's hundreds. But I mean, that's not easy to do, especially when you started with an open system. To then put the infrastructure in place would be massive. I would imagine hundreds of millions of dollars. Has anybody talked about that? I mean, is that the next option potentially, or?
A closed system has been discussed in the past,
Yeah.
especially following those high-profile incidents.
Right.
It just, to my understanding, was not just feasible
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
And also, the open system is also kind of like something, you might not think about it, but like, the way it's open, it's also more enjoyable in I don't know how to explain. I'm trying to think of the way.
It just feels free.
It feels free,
Yeah,
right?
right, yeah.
And it's the way it looks, everything about it, the design and so forth.
Yeah.
And so then you think of adding all these bars and it just, and then really, you're thinking of, it's already an open system. It's above ground. It's hard to
Right.
close something like this
Yeah.
above ground.
Yeah.
In New York, again, it's all down below. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Right.
you already have to go down some stairs into a facility-ish
Yeah.
to hop on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
then you have gates. But how would you? I can't even think of an open system that is closed.
Yeah, you'd have to raise.
above
You probably have to
ground.
raise a lot of the platforms, right? That'd be the first thing. So that gates. But that's what I'm saying. Like it just it probably doesn't make sense. I just wondered if that was something that was being brought up again. But yeah, it probably isn't feasible, especially for the size of Charlotte, where there's a number of other things they want to tackle and invest in.
Sure.
Awesome, Jesse. Anything else that I asked you that you wanted to elaborate on or talk about at all?
No. Again, there's a meeting that's happening in person at 5:00, and there's a series of different meetings. And again, this will go in front of a board at some point, and then next year is really the time frame they're looking to start really making active movements on some of these recommendations.
Okay. Tonight's meeting at 5 is
At the Government Center.
Government Center. So if you want to show up 5 p.m. in person, give your thoughts and, of course, ideas as well. We'd love to hear them, but watch Jesse's story tonight. That'll be at 5 as well, right?
Yes, 5:00 and 6:00. And
6
again,
o'clock. Okay.
there's so many people who probably do have ideas and questions and concerns or so forth. So
Right.
it's important to, go ahead and go to these meetings, or, and just
Yes. Yeah, let
share your
them know.
input because,
Right. Mm-hmm.
one, you might learn something, right? Because some people might have a point that say like, oh, like, why can't we do a closed system? Well, you won't know if you don't go and,
Right.
learn,
Right.
what, their thoughts and feelings are about it. And
Yeah.
so I think the more input, the better the system can come out. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, and especially for those of us who actually use the system, right? Like I think I've said this to other people that work in our space.
Yeah.
That when I lived in Pineville, right, there's a station on South Boulevard, one last station. It just doesn't come far enough, right? So there's a lot of things that people probably want to see that maybe they aren't aware of. So that's a great point. But yes, go to the meeting, Government Center, 5 p.m. Jesse, thank you for your time. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break and come right back.
Appreciate it.
No problem. We are back here on WCNC Plus. There was just a hearing from the NTSB on the deadly DC midair collision. By the way, our Vanessa Rufus is actually working on a story that'll air tonight here on WCNC Charlotte. So you want to look out for that as we, I think she speaks to one of the victims' families from the crash, as we knew that part of the flight crew, if not 4 members of them, were from the Charlotte area based here. So more to come from this. But again, this is Flight 5342. They're discussing that January 2025 crash that killed 67 people as that jet was landing at Ronald Reagan National Airport. So we're listening in right now to this as it goes live.
874 events that they referred to as preliminary ARIA reports. The system itself would generate something for them to review when aircraft came within a certain proximity. An algorithm would feed a report to them for review. They had quality assurance teams that would conduct those reviews and assess. And what we found was that their assessments were largely through the lens of compliance. So they were looking to see if there was any kind of lack of compliance, and if there was, they would categorize it, and if not, they would categorize it into another category. Interestingly, within that set of 874, none of them had been identified as being near midair collisions, even though we knew from other sources during that time period that pilots had made those reports. So that was what made us concerned and feel that there needed to be other ways of looking at these data in a systematic way, and we've made proposed recommendations that we think can address that.
It's interesting you use that word. Is in your opinion, or just what you viewed, is the FAA more interested in enforcement or safety?
Well, and with respect to these data, I do think that the ATO in particular was looking at some of these data through more of the compliance lens. The FAA certainly has the capability to look at data in a more holistic way. We do have evidence that, for example, the ASIAS program is doing that and that it is being done. I don't want to say that it's not being done, but in this instance, with these particular types of data, we did feel like they weren't looking at it in kind of an aggregate or big picture risk focus, but rather a compliance-based way.
And I think that's a nice way of saying it, probably. But I would offer, again, the same thing. Are we going to 5 years from now be saying we're seeing something that the data was there again? Because it seems like every 2 or 3 years, it's almost whack-a-mole. We continually go back and say, oh, they're looking at it, they're trying, and then we just come back and we have another incident.
Well, one of the recommendations that staff has proposed has to do with asking FAA to establish a standard measure of close proximity, making that public, and then creating a database so that all of the stakeholders can have access to those data so that people can conduct analyses and be aware of these types of events.
So is it the public's responsibility or is it FAA's?
Well, we would certainly expect FAA to analyze those data, but because those data are available and can be public, there are a lot of different stakeholders who are interested in this, and having that data available to a wide range of people is one way to ensure that it can be, there can be transparency and can be looked at.
Let me ask, I guess, a different way. I'm kind of curious because we can go through this report and a lot of different things. If you could change one thing at the FAA today and make everyone safer, what would you do? And I'm not trying to lead you into a question, Dr. Price. I'm just interested in your opinion.
Well, sir, I think everyone at this table would have an idea of what they would want to do. I am a safety data person, so I would like to see better sharing of safety data information, better analysis of safety data information, and the recommendations that our group has proposed in this area, we hope can move forward in that, because then it can allow for better foresight and better prediction of risk in the system.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about sharing of data, which you mentioned with external stakeholders. Can you talk about that a little bit? First, how does NTSB get its data?
Chairwoman Hominy, there's a variety of different ways we get data. We own some data. We are the shepherds or the stewards of some aviation data. We access publicly available data. We can request from FAA lots of different kinds of data. And there are some sources of data that are proprietary. For example, as I mentioned, the ASAP and ATSAP voluntary reporting systems and the FOQA systems that are part of the ASIAS program that are proprietary, and we have a special agreement memorandum of understanding with FAA, and there are certain situations where we may request those data.
Some data systems that FAA have, we still pay for.
That is correct. That is correct.
Instead of the sharing of data. So how about industry? How does industry get, say the commercial airlines, how would PSA get information from FAA?
Well, PSA, as many airlines, are members of the ASIAS program, which is a collaboration between industry well, it's a collaboration among many stakeholder groups that's managed by a third party that brings information together and allows them access to it. So that's one way that PSA and many operators get safety data.
Some of the criticism of that, though, is that it's outdated and old by the time they get it.
Well, we were told in this investigation that there were lags between when they were contributing data and when they could see that data. And so,
How
yes,
long?
Sometimes 3 months.
How about the Army? Do they get the data?
We asked Army about their use of FAA data. Before the accident, they did not routinely request data from FAA. In the public hearing, they said that they were interested in starting that practice, and we queried them again recently, and we do know that they have made some outreach efforts to FAA. We know that there has been some conversation about them becoming participants in the ASIAS program. I think there have been some challenges with that. And again, I think some of the recommendations that staff is proposing, we hope will help to foster that type of sharing.
Did the FAA ever give the Army data?
To the best of my knowledge, no, they did not.
Right. We'll get to, well, what are the biggest barriers, I guess, to that information sharing?
Well, I think that some of the barriers that we identified was that there wasn't a common language of sharing some of this information. So there wasn't kind of a common language. We also just found that some parties, as we mentioned, as we just alluded to, didn't have access to some of the data sources, and in some cases weren't even aware of it. And I think another barrier that we saw was that even though there was this kind of ongoing stream of reports coming in, that those individual reports, those NEMAC reports, those ASAP, ATSAP reports weren't leading to the questions and looking at things in a bigger scale, looking at kind of is this a system approach? And I feel like that linkage was also kind of missing.
Okay, one more question on the data side. Can I ask Mr. Groff a question?
Certainly.
Hey, Lauren. You and I have talked about this, that there are some concerns with an over-reliance on AI by FAA, that there are some challenges there, that if that they've got to be careful on the use of AI to pick up trends to make sure it doesn't discount some reports. Can you just talk about some potential benefits you could get from the use of AI to help them identify trends, but then also some potential downsides?
Sure, thank you for that. There was some discussion even in the investigative hearing on use of AI. The term is widely used to include a lot of kind of algorithmic computer process. And so what is it that you're actually talking about when someone says AI as a question. And I think in this case, it is being used. FAA is using it in some cases when they have large volumes of pilot reports to make sense of them, categorize them, and group them, and it directs attention there. I think one of the things, even the ARIA system could be considered to be AI. I think what we saw here was in some cases, was not really understanding what was represented. So there really does need to be a human understanding of what all of these things mean together. So if you're looking to a computer system to give you the answer and kick out the answer, that I think that would be problematic if it would be that type of an application. It really does need a human understanding and review to trust what they're getting out of it. And so it may be that if there's any loss of true understanding of what those events mean, that could be problematic. So pluses and minuses.
Yep, thank you. Member Graham.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just amazed about the amount of data the FAA Air Traffic Control Organization had, and it sure doesn't seem like they were doing anything with it. Was the FAA aware, or had they been made aware of the risk of a mid-air collision near DCA along Route 4 and the approach path to runway 33 prior to the accident?
Member Graham, I think the answer to that is yes. There were safety reports, and there was also the work of the helicopter working group that had raised these issues as a concern.
Yeah, I agree. It was there. I think it was there. People were telling them it was there. One of the things that struck me as I read through the multitude of data the FAA had available to them was now nearly every subjective data reporting mechanism was inconsistent with the objective data source events surrounding DCA. For example, I want to draw attention to the discrepancy between ATSAP program for air traffic controllers and the ASAP program for pilots. Over a nearly 4-year period from February 2020 through October 2024, more than 16,000 ASAP reports were filled or were filed related to DCA. That's from the pilots, including 85 specifically concerning close calls between airplanes and helicopters. Yet, somehow over nearly a 12-year period, 3 times as long, from January 2011 through August 2023, only 520 ADSAP reports were filed related to DCA. Of those, just 26 contain information on close calls between airplanes and helicopters. To put those numbers in perspective, pilots at DCA were filing nearly 18 ASAP reports annually regarding close calls between airplanes and helicopters, and controllers at a DCA were only filing 2 per year. I'm going to ask Mr. Soper this. With regard to the discrepancy between ASAP and ADSAP programs uncovered during this investigation, what do you believe is the reason for air traffic controllers identifying significantly fewer close calls than the pilots?
Thank you for the question. So in air traffic control, there is a little bit of a difference, so that metric could be a little deceiving, and that's because in air traffic, we also have, you've heard mentioned a couple of times, mandatory occurrence reports, which are requirements for air traffic control to submit. Losses of separation would be one of those things. Near mid-air collisions would be one of those things. Runway incursions would be one of those things. The list goes on. So we looked at, I believe it was 10 years, and Jana, please correct me if I'm wrong, like 10 years worth of data approximately, and they had 170,000 plus mandatory occurrence reports at DCA that were reported by air traffic control. So for air traffic controllers, they may not file an ATSAP based on a report, especially if they've already reported it via mandatory occurrence report, because they feel they've met a reporting requirement and they don't take the time to go to actually do an ATSAP on top of it.
Is it difficult to do an ANSAP report?
No, I would say it's not difficult to do one. They make
Is
it
there a
very easy.
reluctance?
No, well, from our investigation here at DCA, none of them displayed a reluctance or said that they had a reluctance. They felt free to file, and they did. They did file reports.
Was there any fear of retaliation for reporting in any way, close calls?
Not according to our interviews. They didn't feel a fear of retaliation for reporting in an ATSAP.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think that's all I have right now. I'll wait for the next round.
Member Inman.
I think I've done with my questions, and so can I pass until we get to the last round? Of course. Okay, because I do have a couple of last-minute things.
Dr. Bramble, Dr. James Reason talks about 5 components of a positive safety culture. Reporting culture, just culture, flexible culture, learning culture, informed culture. Do you believe the FAA had a reporting culture? And let me, just for everybody watching, a reporting culture is a culture where staff feels, this is per Dr. James Reason, feels safe and confident reporting safety concerns, near misses, and errors without fear of blame.
I should probably defer this question to Dr. Wilson.
So in some regards, we believe that at the facility level, there was a reporting culture. Controllers did indicate that they felt comfortable submitting ATSAP reports, and management also said that they had an open door policy, and controllers said that they felt comfortable going to their managers if they had a safety concern. At a more global level, at the ATO, we do not believe that there was a reporting culture. As was mentioned in Dr. Price's presentation, some staff did feel that there would be retaliation for reporting safety concerns. We had multiple people who wanted to share information with us but didn't feel comfortable until they were closer to retirement because they were afraid of retaliation. We obviously had the issue at the public hearing, our investigative hearing, where we felt like management might have been influencing the testimony of some of our witnesses. So in some aspects, yes, and some aspects, no.
In fact, we couldn't get some people absolutely refused to testify or even be interviewed on the record. One person in particular went to a friend of mine at the FAA to call me to ask if he could meet with me because he wasn't comfortable talking to anybody else. It's inappropriate for me because I'm not an investigator, but I was able to connect through that intermediary. I don't even know the person's name who came forward, but with Mr. Soper and Miss Lewis, because they were afraid. People who testified, they were afraid. I mean, and I'll ask Mr. Soper.
Hey, y'all, we're going to take a 2-minute break. Of course, we'll come back and join this live and continue to monitor our other situations that we have right now going on WCNC+. We'll see you in 2. Welcome back. We're going to go back to this NTSB hearing about the January 2025 deadly midair collision above D.C.
Analyzes relevant data and actively disseminates safety information to the workforce. ATO.
Again, as Dr. Price mentioned, with the safety assurance process, we definitely found failures with that. ATO failing to share information with parties that were involved in some of these occurrences, and also, on a broader sense, failing to identify the midair collision risk.
Army.
This was definitely a weakness. They lacked information about the frequency of near midair collisions between their helicopters and other aircraft in the airspace, and they were unaware of the prevalence of maximum altitude exceedances among their helicopters.
And they could have gotten through flight data monitoring.
Correct.
Informed culture, an organization that collects did I do that one? Learning culture, an organization capable of learning from its mistakes, analyzing data, and making necessary improvements, ensuring staff understand SMS. ATO.
Again, numerous times, the helicopter working group brought recommendations to the ATO, which were not acted upon, and those were ignored. We also had external compliance verification findings over multiple years that the ATO did not learn from.
Army.
I think they might have if they had been aware, but I think because they were not aware of these risks, they did not learn about them.
Thank you. Member Graham.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the FAA SMS. Just amazing. I think that we found that there were some serious issues with their SMS, and we'll talk about those now, but it's the height of hypocrisy when a regulator expects operators it regulates to follow prescribed SMS regulations to the detail, but can't seem to come even remotely close to following its own, in this case, their own SMS. Let's start with safety risk management, which is the second pillar of an SMS. What did the SRM, safety risk management, entail at ATO?
The ATO did have safety risk management policies in place that we did find on several occasions. It was followed, particularly at the facility. Following the GAO noise study, there was a SRMP that was conducted in March of 2023, which revised some of the altitudes along the helicopter routes. However, we did also find that SRM wasn't typically used in response to issues identified through that were identified through the safety assurance process.
So they weren't doing them very often, were they?
It appeared to be dependent upon the issue.
Hit or miss, yeah. I've been part of one of those processes in my prior life, so. And let's talk about safety assurance. When safety assurance activities identify deficiencies, what actions should be taken according to the ATO's SMS?
I could take that.
Okay, thank you.
Safety risk management and safety assurance are considered sort of complementary activities. So safety assurance is really just monitoring safety performance indicators to ensure that the safety risk management is working as intended. So it would be sort of a feedback then if the safety assurance identifies performance that doesn't match the.
Hey guys, we have the president speaking right now. He is in Iowa, set to take the stage at a rally right now. Let's listen into this. This is live.
Whatever's appropriate. You know, we secured the border. Remember that. We secured the border. We did things that nobody thought was possible. We had 25 million people come through the border. When I took over, it was a mess. You take a look at what we did in terms of pricing. So you had gasoline at $4.50. Now it's at $1.99 in many places, a gallon. $1.99.
$1.89 in Iowa, sir.
That's right. And what are you there?
$1.89.
$1.89. And he's a very honorable man. He doesn't make up stories. $1.89. When I took over, you were $4.50, $3.50, $5 all over the place. Now we have prices coming way, way down. But remember, we secured the border. Crime is down all over the country. We just had a crime report coming out from, I think, one of the networks, which they hate to hear this, but crime is the lowest number ever recorded. So, when they say, and we talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. So anyway, but we have Tom Homan is over there. We all love Tom.
Yeah. Tom's
And
great.
he met with the governor, met with the mayor. He's going to meet with the mayor, I guess, and it's going very well. But remember this: even Minnesota, their crime is down, and you know why it's down? Because of what we did. We took out thousands of criminals, career criminals, bad criminals, people that came in from Venezuela. By the way, how did we do in Venezuela? Not bad, right? But people that came in Venezuela, think of it, people that came in from countries all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from all over South America, all over Latin America, all over Africa. They came from everywhere. And they came out of prisons in many cases. They came out of mental institutions in many cases. And we're getting them out, and we got a lot of them out. But we have now the safest country we've ever had. Washington, D.C. went from being a crime-ridden place to a place that has virtually no crime in a period of a couple of months. So we're very proud of what we've been able to do. And this is a state that's been with me all 3 times, right?
Since the very beginning, boss. Very beginning.
I'd like to give it another one, too, if you'll remember.
Mr. President, why did you decide coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to do a lot of traveling. I think so. I mean, I like traveling to places. I love this place. This was the beginning of my politics, right?
That's right.
And it treated me well right from the beginning.
Mr. President, message for farmers.
Do you feel that the
Say what?
do you feel that the
Message
president
for farmers. Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, they go. Look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border, and in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. But it's Democrats that do the report. It's a very liberal group that does that report. It's a very important report. And for 9 months, I guess 8 months, 9 months, we have nobody coming into our country unless they come in legally. We want them to come in legally. You need people to work for you. But we did something that I would say people thought that was absolutely impossible, and we were able to do it. So we're very honored by what's happened to our country. In addition, we have $18 trillion coming in, building plants, building auto factories, building AI factories. Like no other country in the world has done what we've done in the last year. And I think it's the most successful first-term president. There's never been a year like this in the history of the country for a president. And he's been with me from the beginning, this guy. Make sure, take good care of him. He's been with me. So I'm going around. And I'm going around because hopefully we win the midterms. And it's very scary because it's 2 out of 50 years or something like that.
That's right.
For some reason, when a president wins, Republican or Democrat, even if they're a good president, and hopefully I'm a great president, based on the first year I'm a great president. And we had a great first term, too. People don't know, we rebuilt our military. We had phenomenal financial numbers. But I think this term's blowing away really every term. But traditionally, when a president gets elected, out of, I think, 50 years, they've had 2 that won. I don't understand it.
You're going to be the
They've
next.
had 2, so we have to, and one was by unusual circumstance. So there's something psychological. If you win the president, whether you're Republican or Democrat, with that being said, the polls look very good. Everything looks very good. And you have great congressmen here, congressmen and women here. And we love Iowa. We love Iowa. And I think didn't I just give the farmers $12 billion, right?
66 billion in total.
Well, I gave total 66.
That's right.
But just recently we gave the farmers $12 billion because they were treated unfairly by foreign countries. I said, how much? They said $12 billion. I said, they got it. You know where I got it? Tariffs. I got it from the tariffs. Without the tariffs, we would have. And again, you know, most of these, we right now have more factories and plants being built in our country than we've ever had before. That came in because they're coming because they don't want to pay the tariffs. So I said, if you build here, you don't have to pay tariffs. So it's great.
Mr. President, you talked a lot about... Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great. You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
You talked a lot about Minnesota, Mr. President. Some of your own administration officials have labeled Alex Preddy.
By the way, this is ABC fake news, this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead, what'd you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get.
Mr. President, would you like to see the dollar's value decline more? Would that be helpful?
No, I'd want it to be just seek its own level, which is the fair thing to do. You could have it, I could have it go up or go down like a yo-yo. I'll give you an example, unemployment. I could create the greatest unemployment numbers or employment numbers ever. All I have to do is hire 3 million people and put them into the federal government, and you have 10 people, you know, for one job, right?
That's right.
And what we've done is we've cut the federal employees and they've gone to the private sector. But if I wanted, I could hire 1 million people tomorrow, put them in the federal government, and she'd be writing a story. Unbelievable employment. Unbelievable employment. But we have great unemployment numbers.
Yeah.
I think they're great. Is there one number that's bad? Can you tell? Is there one number that's bad? There's not one.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Preddy is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident, okay?
Right.
Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate incident.
You said that you are the de facto president of Venezuela. I don't know, maybe you were joking when you said that. Is the U.S. a de facto member of OPEC right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, we are a very strong presence in Venezuela. We're going to get a lot of money for Venezuela. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, with the exception, I think, of our country.
Yep.
And it's bigger than Saudi Arabia. And we had a very strong moment with Venezuela a couple of weeks ago. And we are working beautifully with Venezuela. I will tell you, they're going to do better now than they ever did, than they've done ever at any point. And we're going to be making a lot of money for them and a lot of money for our country. We have a very good relationship with the leaders of Venezuela, and we're going to keep it that way.
What are your plans, Mr. President? What are your plans for Cuba, Mr. President?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Cuba. I don't know. Anybody interested in Cuba in this room? Not too many people. This is not a Cuba room, but that's all right. There are plenty of them around, especially in Miami. And Cuba will be failing pretty soon. Cuba is really a nation that's very close to failing. You know, they got their money from Venezuela. They got the oil from Venezuela. They're not getting that anymore.
We were talking about the polls earlier. Clearly, your base is with you, strong and support. They're very
stronger than. By the way, our base. Our base is with us. I think they're the best poll numbers. The real poll numbers, I think we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. Think of it, if I would have run again, would anybody be happy? You know, so we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Of course, we'll come back inside the Impact Studio right after this. Welcome back. We're going to get to our weather impact team right now and give an update as we look ahead to this weekend. We have potential some winter weather that could be in store for us here in the Charlotte area.
Plenty of sunshine out there on this Tuesday afternoon, but boy, it is cold out there. It doesn't matter if you're in the mountains or in the city. We are feeling that cold Arctic air all around, and we officially had the coldest temperatures of the season so far here in Charlotte. 14 degrees this morning. Thankfully, it won't be nearly that cold tomorrow. It is beautiful, though. I've seen lots of people actually outside walking around at our Blowing Rock camera. Lots of people all bundled up, though, definitely dressed for the conditions. I mean, look at this. This is stunning out there in Beach Mountain, and believe it or not, I also saw lots of skiers and snowboarders out there today and taking advantage of the sunshine, but definitely bundled up because it is really cold in the mountains and it is windy. From Kannapolis to Monroe, lots of sunshine for your Tuesday afternoon. It will be sunny, but overall very cold today with temperatures not even reaching 40 degrees here in the Queen City. We do have below average temperatures taking us through the rest of our work week, and then this upcoming weekend we're looking at another storm system that could bring some wintry impacts. Now the big story for the rest of our week is that our temperatures, well, they're just going to be really cold, 10 to 15 degrees below where we should be when we're looking at our high temperatures, and each morning we're talking about below freezing lows. Sunny skies, though. This is our hourly forecast throughout the rest of our Tuesday. Upper 30-degree temperatures, but because we do have a bit of a wind, it's going to make it feel like we're actually only into the 30s. Now in the mountains, these are your actual air temperatures. 26 degrees in Banner Elk, 29 in Blowing Rock and Boone, even Fleetwood as we're looking towards the foothills. A little bit warmer, but not a whole lot. 42 for our good friends out in Morganton, 40 there in Hickory. Once we're heading right around the Charlotte metro area, 39 degrees today for us, 39 in Gastonia, low 40s there in Statesville and Monroe, even down across Lancaster. Overnight tonight, temperatures will be cold, but not nearly as cold as what we saw this morning. 25 degrees heading out the door tomorrow. So that means as we're sending those kids off to school tomorrow, several layers will definitely be needed. Because we will have a little bit of cloud coverage, it'll help those temperatures warm a little more, but then those clouds will clear out tomorrow with daytime highs rising back into the 40s. Over the next 7 days, look at our temperatures. Wednesday through Friday, plan for 40s, and then a big drop in temperatures as we're heading into Saturday. Daytime highs not even touching 30 degrees, and then look at these bitter cold overnight lows by Sunday and Monday morning, dipping down into the low to mid-teens. So we're also watching that system that's expected to move in between Friday and Saturday, and it could bring us another round of wintry weather. We know we'll have ample cold air. I mean, we are really saying that Arctic air spread across much of the country. We'll have some moisture, and bottom line is that if this all comes together, it could be our next nor'easter, and there's no doubt about it that it would be snow. We're not talking about a mix or ice or anything like that. This seems like an area of low pressure that'll slide up along the east coast, and depending on how well west or east it goes, that'll determine whether or not we see those winter impacts. But if it takes this track here where it's a little more west, then with that we could have some winter impacts as we're heading towards the weekend. So stay close to the WCNC weather impact team. This is our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. We're looking at very cold temperatures throughout the rest of our work week, especially those overnight lows, so you might want to still drip your faucet at night. If you have outdoor pets, make sure you bring them inside. They're cold too, you know. Friday and into Saturday, there we go. Big drop in those temperatures. Plus, we could have some snow in and around the Carolinas. As we're heading into Sunday, sunny skies will return.
Another 2-minute break, folks. We'll be back on the other side to round out our hour here to then send you over to our linear show on WCNC Charlotte. We'll see you in 2. Hey, y'all, we're back. We're going to go to chairwoman of the NTSB, Ms. Homendy, who actually spoke out about how this was 100% preventable. Apparently, the NTSB negated to look into some concerns prior to the midair collision. She speaks on this right now.
In Washington National Airport. This has been a 12-month endeavor through some pretty difficult times, including the longest government shutdown in history, but our team is expert staff, and it really has been an all-hands-on-deck effort. There has been a lot of testing of equipment and simulations that we've gone through over months, and now we're pleased that we're at the point where we can release our findings, our probable cause, and our safety recommendations, which we'll get into this afternoon. I will tell you, though not public yet, the draft report is well over 500 pages. I can't remember the last NTSB report that was that extensive, but also in addition to that, our evidence is quite extensive, exceeding 19,000 pages in our public docket. So with that, we still have an afternoon where we're going to get into some additional issues and then get into the findings, probable cause, and safety recommendations. But I'll take a few questions. Chris, you were the first to raise your hand. I will ask if you can state your name and your affiliation. If you could keep it to one question, largely because I need another coffee, but also, if we need to do more than one round, that's okay. Go ahead.
Chris Van Cleve from CBS News. There's very clear frustration from the board, it sounds like, when it comes to the FAA's role in all of this. Should the FAA have known there was a problem? Should something have been done?
The question is, should the FAA have known there was a problem, and should something have been done? Absolutely. The data was there. The data was in their own systems. It was the NTSB working with them to determine that there were 15,214 close proximity events, 85 of which.
Hey guys, some breaking news we just got in a couple of minutes ago. CMS not going to risk it another day. So it sounds like, I think they're going to be in an e-learning situation, Jeb, did you see? So they'll be in an e-learning type of mode again tomorrow as they look out for the bitter cold and potentially any black ice that still remains out there. In a lot of instances, even on our back patio, it still has a ton of ice and snow because it's barely seen any sun. So probably a good idea just to be safe than sorry. And it is due to the winter weather conditions. That is a verification that I can give to you. It sounds like it'll be a remote day for CMS district school and work locations for students. So yes, there's an update for you. We'll have more for you tonight on WCNC Charlotte. We'll see you then.